What's up, everybody? Okay, all right. I just had to make sure my setup is back to normal. I had to reconfigure it today. Latero, congratulations on being first today. You know, Penguin Airlines, I don't know if you're on, but it's nice to see someone else in the top spot today. How you doing today? What's up, not username? Good to see you, Amame. Welcome to the channel. Go ahead, shoot, Latero. I see you got some questions. Feel free to ask away. Let me know if I sound okay. I had to basically break apart my setup, and I think everything's working. Sully, it's good to see you. Welcome, welcome. It's been so long since we've all seen each other. What's up, Aya? Good to see you on time, gang. Not me, but it's all right. only I know. Oh, must be. Let's see. I want my props. Okay, I'll give everybody their props. I'm gonna give everybody their props. Congratulations, all the on time folks, all the, congratulations. We weren't on time today, but it's okay. I love having my own audio mixer. I turned up the lows and mids. Yeah, audio mixers are both the best and the worst things that you could ever have. To be honest, I have a lot of trouble with mine. Y'all know that. What's up, Chris Lasco? Good to see you, Arcadius. Welcome. Hope everyone's having a great night. Uber King Kong, thank you. Yeah, we are actually. I forgot I'm usually on the close-up cam section instead of this one. I pressed the wrong button. It's been like 5 days or something since we last streamed an academy session. So, I'm a little bit rusty. All right. I'm a little bit rusty. It feels like it's been so long. I just want to say thank you to everybody for being so understanding of all the many things we had going on. I appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks for being kind about it. But everything's good. Everything's okay. We've worked through all of life's curveballs that life tosses at you, and we're good to go. So this week we're going to be finishing up all of the boot camp. So we'll be finishing up the apprentice level of pipelines today and on Wednesday. So tonight we are going to continue along, since the last thing that we did was in fact the Docker series. We'll be diving deeper into the Docker series tonight, and then on Wednesday, we will finish everything off going back to Ansible. And then tomorrow, we will be doing the last piece of the software engineering, the decoded sessions, which is going to be messing around with our Pokemon app and making it better, making it cooler, turning it into more of a product, diving into some more concepts that we haven't touched yet, and packaging that thing up as kind of our own project that we can work on, that we can grow with. We'll learn some more concepts tomorrow as well. We'll dive into a little bit of web development, we'll dive into a little bit of web development tomorrow as well, and then we'll finish everything off with Horizons on Friday. We won't do anything on Thursday. We won't do anything on Thursday. On Friday, we will be doing the Lambda Lab. So if you want to come through and build an application, we'll do a Lambda Lab on Friday, and then I'll give you guys the information about the next upcoming stuff. Okay, got it. My chat is showing. Okay, thank you. I can fix that. That was something we had to change for the baby shower. So one, thank you everybody. Well, two, thanks everybody for coming out to the baby shower yesterday. It was fun. We had a good time. We were, it was interesting. We wanted to see how it worked, but we had a good time. We really did enjoy it. Thanks everybody for spending your Sunday with us. Thank you also to everyone who sent along different gifts and things. Again, the love is real. I really appreciate it. It really helps out as an entrepreneur. It really helps out a lot of things that we don't have to get, and we'll put it to good use. We'll take some pictures and all that other stuff. We'll be sending out thank you cards and everything to really show our appreciation, because we are very, very thankful for you all. Let me go ahead and change up the chat stuff real quick. Let me do that. What do we do this through? Streamlabs? Yeah. Had to make it work with the new theme that we did for that baby shower. Let me go in, all widgets, chatbot widget settings. I hope it just works. That would be nice if it just worked, but we're gonna find out. So if I save it, all right, it should reset now, and we'll type in a test. There we go. Now we have legible, readable text inside of our chat. So we should be good to go there. What's up, Lead DevOps? Welcome. All right. So a very, very quick recap to what we learned last time, because it's been so long, is we dove into containers. We dove into Docker. We got to understand what containers are, and we got to understand what Docker is. We got to start to play with it. We got to start to deploy some applications and understanding how we run containers. We learned about images and pulling images and managing running containers. But tonight we are going to be taking that a step further. The goal tonight is going to be to teach you a few more Docker concepts. We talked about things that we need to get into, like storage and storage being ephemeral within containers, and we need to understand how to handle those things. But we'll dive into that. We'll learn a couple more of the management concepts around containers and images, and then we're just going to start writing some more Docker files. So we did our first Docker file. We dove into it a little bit, but I think we're going to try to grab a couple tech stacks. I think we'll try to grab an application from the MERN stack, maybe the mean stack, LAMP stack, and we'll try to build them so you can see how containers can communicate with each other and how we can have a good time doing that. So let's hop straight into it because it's going to be time consuming. So let me give you, those slides are probably from last time. Let me give you some new slides, which would be at drive.google.com. And contained part 3 is what we're gonna need here. Let me get it shared out to you. Let's go ahead and remove this one. No music. Is there no music? It feels like, it looks like it's coming through. Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah, it should be a little bit there. You know, I'll do my best not to make that mistake again. You know, even though some of you might not think it's a mistake, I'm telling you, it helps. Whether you know it or not, it's helping you retain a little bit of that information. How is the volume on my mic compared to every other time? Because I had to mess with the volume to make it open up to the room yesterday, since it was 2 people on the mic. Hopefully it's fine. If it's not, I'll go through probably this weekend and see if I can reset it and get it up to speed. But hopefully it's okay. Zengeki, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for the follow. Animosity, welcome to the channel. Avalon, good to have you. It's Serp, that was 18 hours ago, but welcome. It's good to have you all here. I hope you're ready to learn a little bit about containers, a little bit more about Docker, so that you can apply it to your daily life. It's interesting because Docker has become such a big thing. Like, again, I'm a big fan of containers. If you can containerize it, I think it is a good idea to containerize it, but it's become such a large thing. It's become such a ubiquitous technology kind of in the entire software space, that it's a really good thing to know. So I'm excited that we're going over it. So today's topics, real quick, we'll talk about persisting data. We're not going to talk a ton about image management. That's not super important for us today. Intro to Docker files. We already did an intro to Docker files, but we'll dive a little bit deeper, break it down, show you the anatomy of it a little bit more, talk about some of the different pieces of a Docker file so that we can start to write some. We'll probably write 2 or 3 Docker files today. We'll understand layers in Docker and containers, period, but we'll understand layers in Docker because it's really good. And again, we'll just do some practice, building some images, and just getting more seat time. What's up, Mechanic World? Hello from Turkey. Good to have you. Welcome from the, others, not really the other side of the world, but kind of the other side of the world. I'm here on the East Coast, Baltimore, Maryland. It's good to see you. I appreciate the kind words. All right, let's do this. Sam, thank you so much for coming through for 1. 2, thank you so much for the gifted subs, waging the war on advertisements. I appreciate it. I really do appreciate the love and the support. Everyone who received a gifted sub. Never forget to thank John Wonton. John Wonton comes in at the most interesting times with the subs. John Wonton for sure has the most subs to the channel. The love is not lost, John Wonton. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the love. You're not just showing me love, you're showing everyone else here love. And again, now y'all gotta start using those. Y'all have access to the emotes now, so you gotta use the emotes. I also gotta get y'all, like, I just learned about stream badges. I just learned about, I have another set of emotes that have been purchased but not uploaded to here yet. So there's more emotes. There's also stream badges on the way. I just learned about what they were. I got the person who made the emotes help me out with those. So now we can get some, cool stream badges. But I might have to get a little more, people have cool stream badges. I didn't realize how cool people's stream badges were. They think about those a lot and they make a lot of sense, but I'll definitely, I might have to go back to the drawing board. I might keep a few out of there. But I want some cool stream badges, but I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, so persisting data. That's what we're talking about first, and this is one of the most important pieces of Docker. This is one of the things that will bite you up front, that bites most people when they're starting to learn about Docker. You got to understand how data works and how you need to handle data within containers. So containers are designed to be ephemeral and isolated from the host machine. So that isolation is key. And so the data from these containers remains inside of the containers, but that's not often how you want things to work. Data is pretty important. We usually want to keep it around. This creates a problem when data is involved. So if you need to save data, if you need to persist data, you need to be intentional about what you do with it. All right, and I guess that's data. I say data, it is what it is. And so there's a couple of different ways to do this, okay? The first solution is volume mapping. All right, so like we do with ports, we can map a container directory to a directory on the host machine. Okay, so say it again. We can map a directory that's inside of the container. The container is this little contained application. So that means the storage in there is contained as well. It's isolated. The same way that we do ports, where we can map port 80 that's running inside of the container to the port on the host machine. We can do the same thing with volumes, okay? So we can take a directory in the container and map it to a directory on the host machine. This is great, it works. This will allow data saved in a specified directory in the container to remain in the host directory when the container is removed. So let's go ahead and do this real quick. There are other solutions. This is not the best solution. This is a solution. So let's go ahead and get straight hands-on with this. Do I have Docker installed on here? Or do I need to hop into my VM? Let's see. I don't think we installed Docker Desktop. Oh, okay, we did. So I'll just do it right here because, yeah, let's do it right here. So let's go to another directory. Let's make a directory here and let's call it Docker. And we'll go into it. All right. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and create a directory just on my host machine so that we can get going. I'm going to make a directory and I'm going to call it our data. Okay. And not mkir, mkdir will make our data. So now there's a directory here called our data. We can take this folder, we can take this directory and we can map it to a directory in the host machine. And so you can do this a couple different ways, but actually this may have changed, but let me see real quick. So I'm gonna run a brand new Ubuntu container. So I'm gonna run Docker run. Well, first off, we don't have anything running. You saw me do a Docker PS, so we should be good there. I'm gonna do Docker run, and I want it to persist. I want it to run detached as a daemon and or as a service. And then I'm just gonna type in Ubuntu. I don't know if I have that downloaded locally, but I'm gonna run it like this to kick off a container that should keep running. And we can see that we got some output there. And if we do a Docker PS, we can see that there is an Ubuntu container running. All right. If I were to, let's say, hop into this container, and maybe my application, and I were to go into the /mount directory. Let's say I go into /mount, and let's say I had a program that was doing some processing, and what it was doing was it was doing some processing, gathering some data from the internet, and it was writing it to a file. So maybe there was maybe there's an output.txt file that the process on this container creates. Okay, and so if we have this, and let's say inside of it, things get logged out, and we'll say this is some logging data or whatever, and we'll echo that into this file. We'll echo this out. We'll put that in that file there. So now that file has data that we need, that we would like to be able to use, but it's in here in this container. It exists. It's right here in the container. But if we get out of here, there's no way to really get it out of here easily. There's no way to persist or save this thing. I think we did do a copy last time. One thing that you could do is you could copy this data using a Docker CP command to get it out of here. But we don't really want to worry about that. That is a It's a weird thing to do, especially if you have thousands and thousands of containers. It's a really weird way to handle it. I have seen people do it this way. You don't want to do it that way. But right now, there's no way to connect this to the host machine because it's isolated. So what we can do instead is let's go ahead and let's kill this container. Let's Docker stop this one, and we're gonna run it again. We're gonna run another run command, and we're gonna run it with a -v. And like I said, this might actually changed, and because there's a better way to handle it now. It's not new, but it's new. It's new for people who've been using Docker since very early on. But -v will allow you to do some volume mapping. I'll pull up the documentation in a second. But what it allows you to do is to say, hey, I'm going to map a directory on the host machine. So right now my directory is going to be / what do we call this? We called it hold on, let's see. We called it our data. And I can do -v, and I can say / our data, which is our local one. I think the local host goes first, or the host machine goes first. And if I want to, let's say I want to map it to a volume inside of the container, I want to map it to /mount/ I'll make a directory called data mapper. Okay, so I'm going to mount our data to mount data mapper inside of the container. All right, so I'm going to run this. And our data includes invalid characters for local volume. Hold on, let me just do our data like this. Okay, so that seems weird. This actually seems like it won't work, but we'll see. Now, remember, how can we find out information about a container? We're running it. Remember, one of the ways that I said we can find out information about a container is we can do a Docker inspect. And we can do the container ID, which is 6B, which we can get right here. And I'll pipe it to JQ just so we can get some good numbers. And we get a bunch of this information that, you know, if we want to see what's going on, but we can see, so you might see something called volumes. We're gonna learn about that. That's not where we want to look here, but it should show some amount. It shows a mount right here, okay? And it's mounting our data to, oh, interesting. I actually think this might've done something different than I wanted it to do. But local driver, okay, let's see. So there is a mount here from our data to a space inside of the container. So let's get logged into here. IT 6B. Not exec. Okay, so if I go into /mount and I go into data mapper, it should show right now that there's nothing in this directory, okay? This directory, it should be mapped right now, and I really do think it did something different than I wanted it to do, which I think is again a newer paradigm in Docker. Makes a lot of sense. I think it actually created a volume for me, but we'll see this in a second. So in this directory, if I do let's go ahead and make touch a new file. Let's just call it test.txt, and let's put some data in there. Just some random text. Let's get it in there. Okay, so now we have that file there. It has some data. It's no longer empty bytes, but it's here in the container. If I go out of the container and I look in our data, it's not here because of some, it's very interesting actually. Docker volume, ls. Yeah, okay. This is very interesting. So I didn't know that Docker did this, mostly because after you learn Docker originally, you probably, when you start using Docker more in depth, you don't interact with Docker in this way. I generally don't interact with Docker manually anymore. I'm usually using some type of orchestration service. But what it did is it created something called a volume. Let's look. I actually do want to look to see if there's an easier way to map volumes. Let's see, Docker. Maybe there's a mount command now. Instead, now I think that what it might be. Use bind mounts. Let's see. Everyone's probably going to tell us to do it this way. Add path /temp. Okay, So still dash V here, but it looks like it didn't like the dot slash, which is very interesting because I feel like it needs the dot slash or mount. Key value pairs. We'll try this one in a second. We'll talk about volumes really quick since we've already done a volume on accident, but I'm interested to see what this is. So what this used to do is this is how you would connect a local directory to your Docker container. So we mapped what I thought was a local drive to a Docker container drive. It didn't work because Docker now has something called volumes. I forgot when this was implemented. I want to say this was implemented in Docker like 1.18 or something, 1.17. But Docker volumes is a better way to handle persistent local storage. And so now you saw what I did when I typed in Docker volume. It's a thing. So if you type in Docker volume, it'll give you the help command, and this will go here. So let's go to the slide first, so we can see it, and we'll go back to number one after this. So Docker volumes here. It's the preferred way. This is the preferred way. And like I said, it looks like now they've made that the default way of handling things. That's very, I like it, but it's very interesting. That's very interesting behavior. But these are volume mounts that are managed by Docker. Okay. So this is still this. It's actually the same thing. It's actually still mounting a local directory. So directory that you have running on the machine that you are running Docker off of. It takes a directory from there. It actually creates a directory when you create a volume. It's kind of underneath, it kind of sticks it into a special place, and it kind of handles and manages the data underneath, and it manages connections and access points to this volume. So it's a paradigm that existed. There's a couple pieces of tooling around it, but it really is just saving the information in a directory. It has some interesting object type functionality to it as well, or it can, but essentially it's mapping it to a directory, but it handles what directory that is for you. And so you saw me type in Docker volume, and it gives you some commands. Let's see what we have available to us. Create. So if you want to create a new persistent storage area, you have that. Inspect. If you want to take a look at one. LS to see them. Prune to remove all unused ones, or RM. Okay. The reason why so you can see here when we did a Docker volume LS right here, we now have one called our data. How did that get created? Well, it got created because of the -v command that I ran. Like I said, what that is supposed to do, maybe it's something I did wrong with it. It's supposed to, what I thought it was going to do was to map a directory, but because it didn't read it in as a directory, it said, hey, I see that you want to connect this directory /mount/ whatever to this volume. Okay. And so it created an R data volume. So we didn't even need to run this create here. We could to create a brand new one, which we'll do right now, but it does it automatically if you should specify it in your command, creates a space, a named volume. For every other container that you run, I'm pretty sure that it will create an unnamed volume. So if we actually go back to our run command and we don't do this, and we run this right here. Actually, I'm pretty sure, maybe it doesn't. Docker volume LS. Okay, maybe not. Tripping there too. But sometimes when you do run things, if you do try to map data, if you try to do some interesting things, there will be a bunch of unnamed volumes that get created in here. So the Docker prune one is a really good one because it's actually extremely easy for your system to get full of containers, full of volumes as well, which you have to delete in the future. So keep an eye on prune. You might have to remove some sometime. But what's good about these volumes, all right, think about the way that containers, remember they're small, they're lightweight, and they're good for scaling. Imagine if you had thousands of containers that were spawning that all needed access to a file that might change. It's gathering data from a file that might change. You know, I mean, a database might be better for this, but it's a thing. Might want to be able to grab a file. You can mount multiple containers to a single volume. Okay. So we do this again. If we spin up another instance, another container. Okay. So we got, this one's been up for a while. This is the last one that we spun up, the quirky Curie. That's the one that we created the file in. So if we do another exec, it's actually the wrong exec, but if I go to mount, it's the wrong container, I think. Oh no, and we'll go to data mapper. We made test.txt. Let's go ahead and make a new container. Actually, let's stop both of these. Just to make sure we have nothing running anymore. And if we should run a new container, a brand new container that's going to also have this mount here. We can map it to wherever we want to map it to, but we're going to specify our data volume if we should do that. And we log into it. This is a brand new container. And we go into mount data mapper. We do have this test.txt file here. It is now available to this container, okay? So again, all it is a centralized access point for your containers. The Docker volume itself, the volumes construct is something that's created inside of Docker. Docker handles the maintenance. It handles what's going on with these volumes and allows you to manage these volumes easily. We can look at a volume. So we do Docker volume ls, and we do a Docker volume inspect our data, our underscore data. We can see some information when it was created, what kind of driver it was. So that's going to be where it kind of exists. Right now it's just local. There, we'll go through the other drivers in a little bit. Any labels, so any metadata that you want to add to this, the mount point, where it is mounted. You can actually go to this directory here. So I'm gonna copy that for a second. That's the physical directory that this is mounted to on my computer. It's got its name here. You can have some options, some scope as well. But if I do something LL, this directory right here, let's do an ls dash. If I take a look at what's in there, oh, did I delete? Cannot access. Let's file a directory, ll slash var lib docker. Huh. This might be just a user, a pseudo user thing. Yeah, but I think you can. I thought you could access it. Oh, so you can't access it. You have to change some. I think you have to change some Docker engine startup options to be able to get to it easily. But yeah, you have volumes. Not super important that we dive that deep into volumes right now. But yeah, it gives you a centralized way to be able to connect multiple containers, to be able to persist and save data. That data I can always attach to using that named volume command, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, you can also attach directly to directories. So let me see if I can see how to do that really quick here in a second. But that's solution number 2. This is the preferred way. That's the way that you should be doing it. There are scenarios when mounting directly to a directory can work better. There's also ways when you are creating, there's some options for creating a volume that's mapped to a particular directory as well. These are things that you can change. You also have the option of when a container is mounted to a volume, maybe you're running something to where you only want one container or one service to be able to write to that directory. You can attach containers as read only. You can attach containers, that have different permissions for what they can do. Ezekiel, the ITD, the I stands for interactive. It allows us to be able to, basically, it allows us to kind of type in. It allows us to type. The T is what allows us to type, but the I allows us to be able to interact with the running container. The T is for adding a TTY device, so it allows us to use our keyboard. And D stands for detached mode, to allow the container to run in the background. Oh, yep. Looks like you passed that along. Let's see. Got my pass wrong. I'll check it out. Huh. What? Let me try my pass again to see if it works. You can also use dash dash volume tag to mount a directory. It's different than dash V. Yep. That is true. Is that our data in the mapping stored in the container VM on your local machine? So good question. So that our data is the mapping that is on the local machine. It is still a Docker construct, but it is a volume that's actually on your local machine. Okay, cool. So WSL, it's in the data directory. I'll check that out. What's up, UL? How you doing? Good to see you. I still don't see text in my local workstation. So yes, so on your, it's going to be in that very particular location, Brendan JC. So when we inspect that volume, so if you do a Docker volume ls and you inspect the volume that we created, and we look at this, and I'll pass it to JQ, the data is actually getting stored in a different location. Okay, this volume is kind of a wrapper for this directory construct. Okay, so it's actually the data is getting saved here, and you can attach containers to it simply using the name of the actual volume itself. But you can specify a directory as well. So let me try that out here in a second. All right, so let me see why it didn't mount to something. Let's change the name of this directory. Actually, let's leave it as our data. And the volume command, let's actually look at it real quick. Docker volume. So this is going to tell us about volumes themselves, but I think also V and volume are the same. Mount consists of multiple key pairs, more verbose. So this looks like it's an older one. The name of my Chrome theme? I don't actually know. Let's see. Is it in settings? I have no idea where to find my Chrome theme at. Nope. I have no idea. I don't know. But let's see, volume type, volume source, that's for mount. As opposed to mount all options, mount and V flags. Mount is supported. Okay, that's there. So this is gonna tell us about all the volume stuff that we've been doing. Let me try it again. I don't generally like to use the mount. I don't ever use the mount command. My app, using volumes of Docker Compose. We don't care about Docker Compose right now. Name, but that might be the only way. Let's see, Docker, mount, local directory. Let's try this one more time. Yeah, so when I did the dot slash, when I did the dot slash, it gave me a pathing error. It says, hey, Docker does not like this. That's what I originally did. And it was not going to show up in my history because of it's a failed command. But let's go ahead and do another run, and let's give it a name so that we know that it's right. So if I do a dot slash here and I try to run it this way, it gives me an error response that none of this is allowed. Maybe I need to put it in quotes. In to pass a host directory, use absolute path. Okay, there we go. We should have read the whole thing. If I just read the whole thing, maybe this would have told me exactly what to do. So if I just do it pwd and I rerun that command. Whoops, I didn't mean to hit enter there. And go back and just simply paste in the whole thing. Looks like this will work. All right, so let's try this one. And how can we confirm this really easily? The way we can confirm this really easily is we can touch a file real quick. Dumb names like that, because it's easy to identify that we just created this thing. So I'm gonna create this file in the our data directory. on my local machine. So right now I'm not in a container, I'm on my local machine. And if I look at this file, if I look in this directory, this file's here, nothing in it, but it is here. Let's check to see if it is on this container. All right, so the way that we can see that it's on this container is we can do a docker exec. We don't actually have to log into it. We don't have to execute a shell against it. We can just do an ls on the directory that we care about, and we can do exec. And I actually think we just need an I. We don't even need an I. And we'll paste this in, and we'll do ls -l. And what do we call this on? /mount/data mapper. I think it's a directory that we did. And check that out. We executed this command against the container, and it is there. So if we were to send some data into this from the container, so if we did echo, here is some data, and we put it into this file, and put it into this file here, this is actually doing it in the container. I'm not logging into the container, but this, remember, the exec command simply executes a command against the container. So it's going to execute this command against the container that we're running here. It's going to stick some data into the file on the container. All right, and so if we do that, that file's not there. Why is that file not there? No such file. Did I copy and paste correctly? That looks like the whole thing to me. No such file or directory. /mount data mapper. Oh, I wonder if it needs this whole thing in quotes, maybe. There we go. No. OCI runtime fail, starting process, echo. Oh, maybe I need to, because there are different types of some data. How do you do it? Do I need to escape these? Let me see. That might work, might not work. Okay. I tried to do the echo, so I think because the command is long, I don't exec commands like this either. But if I do log into, let's actually we got to log into it now. We got to finish it out. /bin/bash. We hop in here. Let's go ahead and run that exact command in the container. And we cd /mount data mapper. UL, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. I really do appreciate it. Garudan, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for the follow. It's good to see you, Doctor My Eyebrows. Welcome to the channel as well. I love the name. Day Trader Bro, welcome. Good to have you. Ant Moon, welcome to the channel. It's good to have you here. So let's do the echo right here. That actually, this actually might have been a problem because I was not passing in a TTY as well, but maybe not. We'll see. We'll echo. Here is some info. So notice right now we're inside of the container. We are inside of the container. Okay. Oh, -c. Yeah, bash-c. Yes. Yes. I've been there. That would have done it. We're already in here now. We might as well do it. Here's some data inserted from the container. We'll put this into /mount /data mapper, and the only file that's in there. That data is in there now. If we go back to the host machine, so I'm back on my host machine now, and I look inside of our data, and we look at that file, there's now information in there. So we've now mounted those two things back and forth. Do you know how to mount a volume if it was an S3 bucket or blob storage? So remember how we were looking at the storage and it said there were different drivers. Mounting to S3 is not super simple. It's not, at least as far as I know, you can't do it out of the box. There are some tools that have been created to allow you to do it, because there are tools that have allowed you to attach S3 as kind of NFS devices and some other things. But yeah, you generally wouldn't attach to an S3 bucket or blob storage. You would run the commands to send data to S3 or pull down data from S3, to sync rather. than to mount generally with S3. There again, that's good practice. There are situations, I can see situations where you might need that, but it's generally not how you would use S3. As permissions, it could be a permissions, it could have been a permissions thing, not sure, especially when we're talking about the file system with Windows Subsystem for Linux. It's already a finicky thing in the way that it's running. It absolutely could be a file system thing here. Could be anything. The -C probably would have done it just for us. Would have allowed it to run better. It might also have to do with the shell and the way that the command is being input and the way that the shell is parsing the different pieces of it. All that stuff. But yeah, showed it for you. Perfect. Does using Docker to create a single website for the sake of having something to show a potential employer make you look good? So I don't think that an employer would be particularly impressed by that. I think that having an understanding of Docker helps a lot. I don't think you need to have built a bunch of crazy stuff with Docker at all. But I think having an understanding of being able to talk about it, I think is a little bit more beneficial than having a website created with it. And if you do, I wouldn't, seems like overkill for just having a website up and running. But if you do, make sure you can speak about what you did. You know, what part of your website is Dockerized? It sounds like that maybe you're going to Dockerize the web server itself, and I don't know, maybe talk about what you did to build the Docker file, which, you know, maybe wouldn't be that much information, but yeah. What you mainly cover in content, is it mainly Docker? We also do Kubernetes. So right now, what you're looking at is we're at the end of something called pipelines, which is an intro to kind of DevOps and SRE things. And so this is there were 2 sessions on containers. We do cover some Kubernetes things. There's a specific Kubernetes course that's actually going to run later this month. It's actually going to be the last excursion that runs in March. So if you're interested, come on through with that. We're actually gonna run a full container course as well, 6-part Docker thing where we'll dive deeper into it. Right now, I'm not spending a lot of time on this thing because we're just gonna try to build some stuff with it. But later this month, we'll have time to dive into each of these things and practice a little bit more. But yeah, that'll come. I think the last 2 weeks of March is when we're gonna be running the Kubernetes stuff. So yeah. Had my interview for Build Engineer Day. That's dope. I know there's a lot going on, a lot about build engineering. I don't know about, but that's everything. There's a lot about everything that we don't know about. Hopefully it went well. Hopefully you learned, at the very least, I hope you took something away from it. I hope some questions were asked that you got to write down and go back to find out some information about. That's pretty dope. What's up, Ty? Welcome to the channel. Good to have you. Thank you so much for the follow. What's up, Girl with Box? How you doing today? Shout out to Girl with Box. Definitely give her a follow. Does some great stuff here in science and technology as well. All right. So volumes are how you can persist data. And that's a good thing to know. It's a good thing to talk about when you are in an interview, understanding that volumes are a way that you can do that. Also that you can map directories on your local machine as well. Understanding those 2 different paradigms are pretty helpful. And again, another way, someone asked about S3, another way to persist data is to move that data off of the containers, but I wouldn't always count on that. Okay, let's real quick cover image management. We don't need to get amazing at this at all. There's a few caveats that I want you to know about image management for containers, because this can bite you. I've seen entire production systems go down because Docker images filled up the entire gave it 100% disk space utilization, and production site is now down because of space. What is the DevOps ways to do volumes in containers? Deep Preston, see, that's another very interesting thing. It's different everywhere. Yes, volumes is the way, but usually because you're also likely spinning up other instances. Yeah, you're spinning up lots of containers, but you often have other instances as well. Usually the best option for this is some type of network attached storage device. All right, so usually that's the easiest way. The problem is it's expensive. NFS is NFS drives, NFS storage is pretty expensive. Network attached storage is pretty expensive, but that is generally the way that it's done. Yeah, block storage, definitely block storage. It is block storage. Again, network attached drives are simply drives. It's exactly what it sounds like. They're attached over a network rather than through something like SATA or iSCSI or whatever. And yeah, so it's attached over a network, and it allows for very, very fast storage. It also allows for you to attach as many systems as you would like to a centralized storage place. It's great. It's kind of the way that people do things, but again, it can be pretty expensive. Something on YouTube, there are free programs that you can use to convert old laptops into NAS. Yeah, that's NAS is network attached storage. Yes, you can absolutely do that. Something called free NAS is pretty dope. It's definitely pretty interesting. Yeah, so for logging's might be a different thing. It depends on what platforms you're using. If you want to do this manually, yeah, probably some type of network attached storage, or another good option is to push it to the host, is to allow, your host to manage the volumes themselves and have something else push the logs out of the host machines and aggregate them somewhere. If you need them aggregated, you may not need them aggregated, but to maybe have your host system on a cron or something push out logs every few minutes to, or hours or whatever. It all depends on your needs, but there's a lot of different ways you can handle that for sure. So Docker only writes on top of a small fraction of memory. Because the containers are small, I mean, it all depends on what your application is doing. It can use up as much memory as it wants. It can use up all the memory on the machine if you want your container to use up all the memory on the machine. But it depends on how much your application itself takes. If you kill Docker, the memory dies as well. Yeah, oh yes. Okay, gotcha. Yes, if you should kill the container, if you remove the container, the information inside of it dies as well. These containers are ephemeral. So if you like to persist data, if you like to keep data around, you got to save it outside. That's like the most important thing to know about containers, like that the data inside of them is ephemeral. If the container goes away, so does that data. All right, so real quick about images. Let's remember, so basically all the commands in Docker are basically, Docker, the name of the thing that you want to mess with. Someone type in Docker images, and this will list out all the images for me. Someone told me Docker image ls does it as well. So I guess that is just an alias, a little easy way to do it. But Docker images will list out the images that you have locally. The interesting thing about images is the size over here can be a little bit confusing, but we'll talk about that when we get to layers a little bit later. What's up, Gadudas? Good to see you as well. Hasn't been too long. It's good to see you. But yeah, you can see all of your images right here. We don't have many, but this becomes pretty crazy. What's interesting about containers, about these images is, yes, I have Ubuntu right now, but I have Ubuntu latest. Let's say the reason why it's easy to fill up your hard drive and stuff is because you may have a system where you're pushing out new updates all the time with newly tagged images. Let's say we pulled Ubuntu, but we pulled Ubuntu 1804. 18, I think that's how you get it. And you pull this here, and it'll pull down 1804 for me. This will have its own image space now. All right, taking up a different amount of data. Okay, so these are two different images taking up different amounts of data. And so if your application is being updated often and you're pulling down new images to be able to deploy new applications, eventually you run out of space. We need to be able to manage those images. One of the main, the Docker images is how you see them. There's not a ton that you need to do. There's some things you need to know about them though. If I want to remove an image, I can do Docker RMI. That's how you remove it. So Docker RM simply does the container itself, but Docker RMI is how you remove an image. And then the image name. So if I want to remove Ubuntu 1804, I have to type in all of it. And this will remove Ubuntu 18.04 from my system. Pretty simple, right? Pretty great. But Here's the caveat. Let's say I want to remove, actually don't know if I have anything for this one. Let's say I want to remove this Nginx one. I get an error, all right? I get an error right now. It says conflict. Unable to remove repository reference Nginx, must force container with this ID is using the referenced image. Okay, here's the problem. And here's the thing that you have to know. To remove an image, you cannot have any containers running or stopped that are based upon an image. You have to delete all the containers running or stopped before you can remove an image. Okay, so that is that's what makes this so interesting. So if I do a Docker PS, I have 2 Ubuntu containers running, no Nginx stuff running. But if I do a Docker PS-A, we get all of the containers that were ever here, and we have this Nginx one down here. And look at this; it tells us exactly what the container is. Okay, and there's only one container based upon it. But for me to be able to delete this image, for me to be able to delete it, I must remove this stopped container. It's an exited container, but it is still here. So I have to do a Docker RM first, and remove C6. And after I remove this, now if I remove the image, I can now remove the image. Okay, pretty important. This is very, very important. So obviously I wouldn't be able to remove the Ubuntu latest image because we have stuff deployed on top of it. Yes, put all of your data outside the container. Think of a container. Yeah, yep. Did you upgrade to 20.04.2? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah, it's 1.1. I'll upgrade it. I wonder what it has inside of it. I need to check out the change logs. I haven't been keeping up with the Linux community. This is kind of how symlinks work. Yeah, it is kind of how symlink works. It's exactly how symlinks work actually. I once RMRF'd a symlink directory and it was horrified. Oh, yep. Yeah, it'll do that. It'll do that. But Nginx is gone. We use Nginx a lot. We'll pull Nginx back for sure. BSEC, don't be sad about it. Definitely don't be sad about it. But that's the big concept for images that you need to know, is that to remove an image, all containers that reference that image must be removed first. An easy way to, that's all you need to know. And it'll tell you one by one. There are easy ways to delete all the old ones. There's like 10 different commands you can go look up that'll delete all these stopped images if you want to delete those, and running or stopped containers, so that you can delete the image if you'd like to do that. But that will allow you to do that. There's a bunch of other image stuff that we could dive into, but the only thing I need you to know is that to delete an image, all containers referencing it must also be deleted. I was gonna skip this, but let's not skip it because you may need to do this, and it's pretty important. What is the diff between Alpine or regular image? Or size diff, or what is the difference? Period. So Alpine is just a distribution of Linux. It doesn't have anything. It doesn't have much inside of it. It's bare bones. It's really tiny, and people like it because it doesn't have any extra tools or libraries and binaries that you may not need. So you can keep your image as small as possible. If that's your concern, it's a skeleton. It's just basically not much there. Saves a lot. It can save you a lot of time. Depending on the scale of your setup, lightening your image can be a big deal, but it also can make your build writing what you need to write to make your application work. It can make it more complicated. It can make it a lot more complicated, actually, because you don't have a lot of things available to you. But it all depends. Again, all depends on what you need. So if you change something in a reference container, does that change propagate the image is referencing it? No, nothing changes. Nothing changes the image unless you rebuild it via a Docker file, or you kind of snapshot it. There's a way to you can take a running container and you can save that to an image. You can do that. You shouldn't do that. I'm not even going to show you how to do that right now because you shouldn't do it, but you can save a running container as to an image. Okay, you can do that, and that will update the image. Those are the only two ways. It does not propagate up to the image that it's referencing. Let's see. What is Docker? All Docker is a container engine that allows you to run packaged up applications in an isolated manner on a host machine. Fire stuff up fast for scalability. Yeah, that's most of it. That's why it's so popular, to be honest. Is there a way to remove unnecessary things from the image before converting it to a container? Yeah. So if you are going to build a container manually, because you can do that, if you're going to build it manually, you'd have to manually remove the packages from the container. Like, you have to log in and you can delete files. You can use your package manager to remove things if you'd like. But the better option, trust me, the easier option, and the option that's better long-term, is to build it via a Docker file so that you have some reusability, and it's much easier for you to extend it if you need to. So we learned how to get images down from Docker Hub. If you wanted to make your own image, let's say we have a container. Let's see, Docker PS, Docker exec -IT. Maybe in one of these containers, maybe we want to put, maybe we need to add a file that everything needs in the future. And so maybe right here in the root of everything, I'm going to touch, cool script .sh, and then I'm going to echo /bin /bash. Whoa. Oh, because of the event not found. It's because I need to do this. Okay, and then let's just say another line on here is just echo hello world. So let's say we had a cool script on here that we wanted. Why didn't it like that? Oh, okay, got it. Nope. See, let's go back up. Nope, not that. Hold on, echo. Can you echo without quotes? No. How do I get this in here? My Linux skills are they're failing me right now. Missing extra oh, thank you. Missing extra quote. That's what happens when you don't pay attention. So there's just a file in here, whatever. We've put it in here manually. We didn't build this with a Docker file. Now we can, so I want to show you the thing that I told you not to do. And then we're going to just use that so we can push it up to Docker Hub if you ever want to push it up to Docker Hub. If you want to take your image and push it up to Docker Hub. So the way, and it was funny, I need to go look up the command now because I don't do it. So actually, let me look at the Docker -- help. It's like, hold on. I'll know it when I see it. I'll commit. Here we go. Docker commit. Docker commit will allow you to create a new image from container changes. So it's going to take the container which I just created, which was based off of Ubuntu, and I can create a brand new image from it. So Docker commit. I think it's, I think I have to give it a, let me see. I think I have to give it the name and then the container ID. Let's see. Dash message. So maybe I can give it a message. Let's see, updated stuff. And then I think I give it okay, here we go. Options, container, repository tag. So the container that we are running off of is, let me go all the way back up, is this one. So I'll just take 892 from here. And then I got to give it a name. So I'm going to call this, Ubuntu. But the tag I'm going to give it is going to be mastermind mastermind update or something, whatever. So it's gonna create a new one called Ubuntu, and we'll call it mastermind update. I actually think I have to give it, if I want to push it to my repository, I actually have to give it my repository name. But for now, I'm just going to make it like this. Let's see, options, tag. What didn't I like about, let me take off the M. Oh, the help, never mind. It was just the help command that was there. I think the rest should work. Okay, so now I used a running container to now have an image. So now this is here. We made some changes, essentially the same size, because all we did was add a single text file there. What's up, Darvane? Darvane, welcome to the channel. It's good to see you. How you doing today? Also, Scotissimo, thank you so much for the host. Welcome. Webmaster, welcome to the channel. Good to have you here. Buddy, welcome. Pasana, welcome. Trash dev, you're not trash. You're an amazing dev, or maybe you just do some development on things that are trash related. Welcome. It's good to have you all here. All right, so that allowed me to create my own container images. That Docker commit. It's a thing. I don't want you. I don't think there is almost any time where it is where it makes sense to use a commit, unless it's like an extreme emergency. I don't think Docker commit is something that you should rely on, personally. Maybe if someone has a scenario which they feel like it's very beneficial, let me know. But I do not think you should ever create an image from running a container. Maybe if you're doing some development and you just want a quick backup of something, that could work. But just know that it's not. You're gonna lose a lot of convenience. Future you is gonna hate current you, but you know, I'm letting you know from experience. Don't do that. Okay, so now we have it. If we want to push this up to the Docker Hub, I'm gonna go log into hub.docker.com. And so I pushed something up here before. I don't think you have to create a repository first, but maybe you do. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think you have to create one, so I won't. But what I do need to do is I need to first log in, and man, I haven't done this in a while either. And I only haven't done this in a while because I generally don't use Docker Hub for the hosting of my Docker repositories. You mean Docker file from image? You mean Docker file from an image? A container needs a Docker file to run. A container does not need a Docker file to run. It is not. A Docker file simply is the instructions to build the framework for an image. So a Docker file builds an image. A container just needs an image to run. All right, it needs an image to run. It does not need a Docker file to run. Yeah, sure. You can create a Docker file. Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know any ways to do that personally. I don't know if there's a tool maybe you could use, but I doubt it actually. I think it will be hard to do it. I think it'll be hard. You could definitely, yes, you could manually reverse engineer it for sure, but there's no like automatic command to take a container and to create a Docker file from it, or an image and make a Docker file from it. Yeah, Tire sysadmin, we are doing Docker stuff. So if you want to, push it up to the Docker Hub, you got to do a Docker login, and it should ask you for your username and your password. And I actually don't even know my password. I will grab it from my LastPass. Recently used. Open my vault. I'm not gonna let y'all see it. I'm not gonna let y'all see it at all. Here we go. Copy password. All right, hopefully it won't, there we go. I pasted it in there. And so login succeeded. I am now authenticated with Docker Hub, and now I can push new things up to Docker Hub if I would like to push things up to Docker Hub. So yeah, so let me copy something else real quick so that I don't accidentally paste in my password somewhere. What's your mother's maiden name by chance? Exactly. Yeah, you'd be surprised at how many people would answer that question. But we're logged in, and now we can push stuff up. One thing that's important to know is that everything goes to Docker Hub by default because it is because of the way Docker comes set up out of the box. But the name itself, the name of the image itself is actually where it should go to. Is actually the repository information is actually in the image tag itself. So generally, the way that you create it, the structure of it is the repository. I think / application :tag, so the version or whatever, however you want to do it. And so for me to push this up, if I try to push this now, it actually wouldn't go here. So if I try to push this image and I do Docker, first I'm gonna look at Docker images, and I do a Docker push Ubuntu mastermind update, and I try to push this image up to Docker, it's going to give me a request denied. The reason why it's going to give me a request denied is because this is actually trying to push this information to a different location. It's trying to push it up to Ubuntu's account basically, and it's not properly pushing it to where I need it to be. So to get it to go to where I want it to go, I need to first tag it with the proper name, and it'll tell you in here how to do it. So you need to tag local image to your repo name : tag name. And so I'm going to tag this as mastermind.io, which is my username, and that's going to be the paradigm which you got to use, / the name of the app, and then I could give it a tag if I wanted to do it. But we're gonna go mastermind.io / Ubuntu mastermind update. And when I do try to push this one, refers to, oh, sorry, that's not a thing that I have. I forgot to retag it. I have to retag this. I have to change the name of the image, and tagging it is not changing the name. And I'll show you this. So Docker images, we can see our images here. If I do Docker, was it Docker tag? And I'll take Ubuntu mastermind update, and I'll retag that as mastermind.io / and we'll call this, we'll call it Ubuntu. I can call it whatever I want, but and actually I'm gonna call this latest. I'll just call this latest. So I'm gonna retag it. And if I look at my images again, I want you to know, I want you to see something. This actually shows a very interesting paradigm with Docker. And again, we haven't talked about layers yet. We're about to talk about layers, but notice how one, Ubuntu mastermind update and mastermind Ubuntu latest, I tagged this to this. So this doesn't rename it. It creates a new, reference. They have the exact same image ID. All right, this hash actually points to the exact same image, has different names, but it is the exact same image. They're both 72 megs, but they're not both taking up 72 megs on my machine. This is what ultimately confuses some people when they are looking at their Docker images. They are not taking up, we'll learn about layers in a second, but they're actually pointed at the same thing. That helps you if you ever need to do any type of retagging and you want to confirm that an image is what you think it's supposed to be. That will allow you to do it. Why not just use Debian in the Docker image? You can, but so interesting when you say use Debian. When you say, what do you mean by use Debian? Yes, they are all 72 megabytes. They are all based upon the same thing. Ours, all it has is an extra tiny text file, so not really much larger. But now if I want to do the push that we tried to do before, oh, actually that's not it. It's latest now at the base OS. So now it'll push this up to my repository. It completed successfully. And if we go here now and we refresh, we now have a brand new Ubuntu space here. So that's how you get it. You got to log in first, tag it to the right name, and push it up to where you want to go. Using Debian as the base OS is fine. You could absolutely use Debian as the base OS, but it's not the base OS. And it is okay to think about it as that, but as you're learning Docker, I do want people to get out of the habit of thinking about it as your operating system. The operating system is Linux, and they're all utilizing the same kernel. The OS has the different distributions. All it's doing, all using Debian does, is give you some tools and some structure that you're comfortable with if you're used to using Debian. It's not actually, it's not an OS. It's just, you know, really what you get out of it is you get apt and you get some extra little tools in there. But those things take up space. That makes the image larger. If you want to use that, it doesn't really matter what you use. We just use Ubuntu because people are comfortable with it. But yeah. Whoever's asking about reverse engineering a Docker image history will help reverse engineer it. Yeah. Yes, it will help. It will help. Yep. Get you close. Yep. All right. So here we go. Now that we know about pushing images, we know how to manage images a little bit. We know how to delete them if we need to delete them. Let's go on to Docker files. We've already done a little bit about Docker files, but we didn't talk more deeply about Docker files and what the different pieces of them are. So again, Docker file is simply instructions for building a Docker image. All right, let's run through the workflow real quick again. If you want to create, all right, so you start out with a Docker file. That's kind of where you start. You start out with these text instructions. You use this Docker file to build a Docker image. All right, with that Docker image, you can run any number of Docker containers. So Docker file to Docker image to Docker container. That's the workflow. That's the structure. It's important to know the differences between Docker images and Docker containers, but that's how you do it. So here is the anatomy of a Docker file. All right. As you can see from the one that's here, there is this from line. I'm pretty confident I'm pretty sure this is a required line. Sometimes you'll see maintainer at the top. I think it's been deprecated, but you will see it sometimes. The from line, it tells Docker what to base the image that you're creating off of. What suite of tools do you need to start building things off of? There are like scratch containers made so that you can easily use something that doesn't have anything in it. Alpine's a super common one if you want, but you can base this off of any image that's available to you. If you have access to it, you can base your Docker file off of anything, okay? And so you can take an already created container or a container image and build off of that super easily. But it might have a lot of stuff that you don't know about in it, but the from line gives you your base for your container. Then in between, after the from line, really you can have any number of the essential commands or essential functions. And so here are just some examples of some. You can set up environment variables with env. You can set up the work directory, which is the current directory that you're working out of, or that the image is kind of scoped out of. You have copy commands, which allows you to copy things from the host machine into the container. It can also copy things from URLs into the container as well. You have copy, we have run commands, which are just simply gonna run Linux commands. We have expose, which is gonna expose ports. We have, again, maintainer. This is not something that's always gonna be in there, but it allows you to have some metadata about who is the maintainer of this thing. The CMD is the command is gonna allow you to set up what process runs when the container starts. There's also something called entry point, which allows you to further daemonize this thing and also allows you to add options to the startup command. You can also use an entry point like a command. Okay, I think there can only be one command and one entry point, or maybe there can be multiple commands but only one entry point. We'll look that up in a second. But yeah, we did not update the slides. Let me get you the link for that real quick. Here are the actual slides, White Wolf. Wonder if you can auto-generate Docker. Yeah, for container image. It would be cool if you could. I'm sure there are some tools that attempt to do it. I've never seen one that does it, but yeah. That link is for AWS. Oh, the top link, yeah. Yep. All right, absolutely. So the anatomy basically is going to be the from, and then whatever you want in between. It could be one line, it could be 2 lines, 3 lines, whatever. This is just an example of a bunch of different things that you have available to you. Here are the instructions that you have. We just talked about them really fast, but just so you can see them. Specify your base image. That's what the from is. Run simply runs a Linux command. CMD, so you can only have one CMD. it sets the defaults for running a container. So these can be overridden. We'll talk about how to override these things in a second, but it sets the default things. Label, just some metadata if you want to do that. Add, copies things from the host machine into the container or from a URL, or extract the tarball. I forgot it does this. I really forgot add does this. It can copy in a tarball and it can extract it for you if you'd like. Copy, just copies from the host machine into the image. Environment, you can set up environment variables to use. These are very, very important. We'll probably see that tonight when we build a few things. Expose a port, entry port, configure container to run as an executable. These are basically, yeah, we'll leave it at that right now. The difference between command and entry point can be pretty confusing. I'll try to highlight that when we're building. I'll try to help you see what the differences are between them, because you will see some Docker files that only have an entry point. You'll see some that only have a CMD. You don't have to have either one. But yeah, entry point, also think about entry point as the entry point into the container. But you can do some cool things with it, but that and a CMD are different. Worker, set the working directory. Users, sets users and groups when the image is running. So if you want to run the container as a certain user, you can do that, or different things inside of it. And then volume, we learned about volumes. You can create a host volume. So, and then once you're done writing the Docker file, you can build it. Let's talk about layers first, and then we'll go ahead and we'll build some stuff. So layers really quick. This is an important concept to know. Learning how to use them effectively. It's not an advanced concept. It's probably not gonna be something you're thinking about earlier on when you're trying to learn how to use containers, but layers are, knowing about them is pretty important. So intermediate changes in an image. So changes that are made, creates a layer, right? It creates a new, carved out structure for the thing that just happened. Okay, and it's unique. It's a unique configuration for a piece of a container. New commands create new layers. So each of these instructions, each of these words creates a new layer. So every time you use one, it creates a new layer. The cool thing about layers is that layers can be cached. All right, so they can be held in storage somewhere and be reused, causing builds to become much faster. Not even just builds, pulling container images, all of these things can be much faster because you can cache this data, and you can structure the way that you build these Docker files, the way that you build them via a Docker file. You can structure your Docker file so that the things that do not change often or ever are higher up on the list here. So if you have things that aren't going to change, you put them higher up, because now when you go to run a new build, you no longer need to execute those steps. These layers have been saved, these layers can be cached, and you can just pull in the cache data. You don't need to redo the operations. And the Docker file, when it is building something new, when something has changed, it will only update the layer that has changed and the ones below it. All right, so that's why you have to structure it accordingly. So if there's a change that happens on, maybe we're copying in a new file here, it'll basically keep these layers, it'll cache them. But once it gets here to the copy, it will say, hey, there's a change here. I'm gonna go ahead and re-execute this, and then it's gonna re-execute everything below it, because it's possible that what you did on the line that you're on affects the things below it, and it'll build everything down. So you can structure this in a way to where maybe the first time you build something, I've seen apps that have a very long build time, and the first time it's built, it might take 25 minutes to do the full build. And if set up accordingly, you can change that to, I've seen it being taken down to just a minute or two, because of the way that this thing was layered. All the dependencies and everything, you can kind of keep in one layer, and then you can utilize that over and over again without having to rebuild everything. All right, so we're gonna see that real time. That doesn't make any sense until you use it real time. Well, I don't think it makes a lot of sense until you use it real time. And so now we're gonna go and build something real time. Now, earlier, I was looking around because I was like, Docker is not fun unless you have some applications you want to try this out with. Let's try to, I was Googling around for a different stacks of applications. So yeah, the first go-to usually is something like a LAMP stack application like WordPress. All right. You must, so one, we've been running one container at a time. Containers also can work together. They can communicate with each other. We didn't talk about Docker networks or anything like that tonight, but we're gonna, there's a lot more. If you want to learn more about it, Contained will be running in March as well, right before the Kubernetes course. But we can create applications that utilize multiple containers. So sometimes, they're designed to want to run a single process. These different processes might need the help of another process to make the application properly run. You can connect them together. You can have them pass data in between each other. There are ways to do this more easily. Tonight, we're not going to dive into Docker Compose at all, I don't think. We're just going to manually run containers that are connected to each other so that you can kind of understand that. But let's go ahead, and I think I was looking up was I looking up a mean stack or was I looking up a MERN stack? And I found a cool I found a cool app on GitHub. I should have saved it. There was like a MERN social. I knew I would find it. It's cool. It's like a little social media app. It's pretty cool to get up and running. I didn't Dockerize it yet. And I'm surprised it's not Dockerized, but I did run it manually to see if I could get it up and running. Yes, they do go up on YouTube. I'm behind. They're uploaded, but yes, they do go up on YouTube. ! YouTube will get you the link to there. I'm gonna tape every explanation you give and just play it back for an interview. I mean, you can do that. You can do that. But this is the stuff that gets you jobs. I'm serious. Like understanding that you can modify Docker files to use these cache layers to increase build times. These are the things that people like to hear. But I'm not saying these are things that you need to know to get, your first roles or even some intermediate roles. They're good conversations to have. You'd be surprised at how many people you talk to who are hiring managers and have no idea about some of these things. So, you learn all the things and you just spit it back out. Currently learning Singularity, a high performance computing platform. One of the things about the definition files is painful. There's no layer caching like in Docker. Ooh, you have to rebuild everything. Yeah, every time. That is very painful. That is very, very painful. Like very painful. I used to think I didn't care about that because the things that I was building when I was first learning Docker didn't take very long to build. I would build them, it would take 2 seconds to build. I'm like, why would you ever care that much to stop that? But then you go work on an app that takes, there's apps take 15 minutes to build, 15 minutes to build. That's a long time. And that's not even that long. There are apps that take way longer than that to build, but it can be frustrating. You make a little change. Imagine if it's just 5 minutes. Imagine if a build time was 5 minutes. Imagine if you needed to make one change. You go in, you're like, oh, I made a code change, and you're like, oh, I fat fingered it. Let me go ahead and fix this typo. And to fix the typo, it takes another 5 minutes for you to get a running image. That sucks. It really does. It's not good. Other development experiences. So I have a DevOps background, infrastructure background, but coding languages, I've built things with JavaScript. I built things with Go, professionally. JavaScript, Go, a little bit of Ruby, lots of Bash, Python for sure. I've done so many ETL processes in Python. So many ETL processes in Python. For the most part, touched a lot, all the configurations management tools, so Terraform, Puppet, Chef, all those things. Lots of AWS stuff. Way too much CloudFormation for me not to feel confident in CloudFormation. I've written thousands and thousands of lines of CloudFormation, but I don't feel confident in CloudFormation for some reason. It's just something that you just never feel like. It's burned me so many times. I just like, I'll always be able to get something done with it, but I don't like it. I don't enjoy the process either. But yeah, I've touched a lot of different things. 5 minutes right now, and it can take, yep. Oof. I appreciate that. Always laid back. Definitely laid back. Typos always gonna happen as well. Yep. We cover all those things. I really want to get into cloud architecture. Yes. Well, that is that is absolutely something we do. Come on through on Friday. On Friday we do, right now it's Horizons is on Friday. The next run of Horizons, when we'll get to the intermediate series, that'll be 2 days a week. So that information will be coming out about that soon, but that'll be in April. But yeah, we do a lot of AWS stuff here as well. AWS is my jam. I do enjoy it. Did you kind of get tossed into a room to work on all this stuff? Collaborative effort with, so I've had it both ways. I've had it both ways for sure. And all of my development has been extremely collaborative. Some of my infrastructure stuff has been me by myself, which is interesting for me. And I've learned that this isn't the thing for everybody, but for me, working, I'm really good at learning from other people's experiences. So whenever I get put into a collaborative sessions and stuff, for me, it really accelerates my learning like super duper fast. Like I can feed off of, I also will feed off of your confidence in something. If I have no idea what it is and you're pretty confident in it, I'm pretty good at filling in, I'm good at seeing patterns. I've touched enough tech to where I'm never fully lost. I'm never like completely lost on something. And I really do enjoy working collaboratively, even though I will say this, even though a lot of days I would prefer to be tossed in a room and just do it myself, because it's just more comfortable. Like going through your work day, like, I don't know, sometimes it just feels like sometimes you just don't want to think that hard. And when you're doing it by yourself, I can power through for an hour and then I can kind of chill my brain out for a little while. When you're working super collaboratively, you're kind of just on for a long time. And it kind of sucks a little bit, but it definitely helps. All right, cool. So this application is a MERN stack application. So the reason why I wanted to choose a popular tech stack, we'll talk about tech stacks one day in the intermediate session, but there are a lot of different ones. MERN is MongoDB. What is it? MongoDB, React, Node.js, Mongo, Node.js, and React, and Express. Thank you, Express. Thank you. Express is a web server. It's a Node.js web server, if you all did not know what that was. But generally, all tech stacks need a couple things. They need an operating system. It's Linux for just about all of them, except for the ones that have W's in them. So there's an operating system. It generally needs a web server. It needs some type of language or runtime and some type of framework, usually. And so that's what these are. MongoDB is the database, and a persistent storage layer. So MongoDB is the one for this one. It's pretty popular. You'll see MERN stack. You also see the mean stack. That's the same thing. So Mongo, Express, but it's Angular, and that's the framework instead of React and Node.js. So MERN stack. So this is built with those technologies, and you can take it. It's pretty easy to set up. But I figured we would take this and we Dockerize it so that you see how you could take an application that already exists and Dockerize this thing. Let me go ahead and log into my, let me log into a server really quick. Hold on. What's happening here? Oh, I'm on the wrong. I was like, why is it not typing for me? Let me log into Linode real quick so that you all can access this as well. All right, what we'll do is, actually, I don't even need to log in here. I already know my my thing. Let's get logged in. Am I logged in? Okay, cool. I'm logged in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this URL here for this application. If you want to follow along, I'm going to install it. I'm going to install it manually just so you can see it running first, so we know what we're supposed to be looking for, and you can see the process of getting it running. So one of the things is, it's very interesting. I've seen a lot of people dive into Docker or who are diving into the tech industry and have heard Docker and containers are the thing to do, but they dive into it and they don't know Linux that well, which is okay. It seems like it would be super hard, which I found that learning doesn't have to be linear, that's further proved to me that learning doesn't need to be linear. But it's been interesting watching people learn understand the concept of building a container, but at the same time be trying to figure out how in the world to run what I need to get the things that I need installed. And so they end up learning Linux. They end up learning Linux in the paradigm of Docker. They end up learning Linux through Docker files. And so I've seen people be good at writing Docker files and then get into the command line and be uncomfortable doing lots of different things. It's a pretty interesting paradigm. Definitely just, I'm just an old man in the industry. Just an old man in the industry, it's interesting watching it. But it's cool, whatever works, they're able to use it effectively. They understand how it works. It may take them a little bit longer to be able to Dockerize an application. But if you know how an application, if you can manually deploy the application, you can Dockerize it. If you understand how to manually deploy it, you can Dockerize it. So we're gonna clone this really quick. I'll take it. I'm gonna clone it. Luckily, we'll look at the README and we'll see what we need. But I think that I didn't run it on here, but I think I already have Mongo, so that should be fine. So the things that you need here are Node.js, NPM or Yarn. We'll use NPM, and MongoDB. I know that I already have all these three things installed. So when you are attempting to Dockerize an application, that is the number one thing I want you to memorize. So we spend time in Contained breaking down how to Dockerize something, but you need to know all of the libraries and binaries that are needed to make your application run. That is the whole point of Docker itself. It is to be able to package up all of the things that an application needs to run. And for you to be able to Dockerize it, you need to understand what things are required. So right now we know that we need Node, NPM, and Mongo. That's great. That's all they tell us. We might need more things, but for right now, they've given us the things that we need. So that's super helpful for us to be able to do this. I do have all these things installed locally on this machine. I'm pretty confident. I don't know why this is taking so long to clone. It seems as though it might be problematic. Let me, actually don't like that at all. Do I have space? Oh yeah, I have a lot of space. Yes, Node.js. Huh, why, this is odd. Learn social. We try to do it with SSH really quick. Okay, that took a long time. I don't know why it took so long, but it created this directory here, and Mern social. This file is, this application is now right here. I do already have MongoDB installed, and Mongo should be running. We did something with it in the past, and so if I do, what is it, lsof, was it -i-p, I could look for Mongo, but I have Mongo running. It is running in the background. Port 27017, that's the MongoDB port. So I do have that running. If you want to know how to do it, if you want to know how to manually run it, feel free to, look up your operating system and how to install it, because I'm not too concerned on making sure you can do this part, because we're going to be able to do this via containers shortly, and you should be able to follow along perfectly when we're doing it in the containers. Is it safe to think about Docker as a souped up virtual environment? I actually think it, so no, it's not. It is not. It's the problem when you say it's not a virtual environment. I think that's the first. It's not a virtual environment, and it's also not souped up. It's actually quite pared down, to be honest. It actually has a lot less features. That's why it's so quick. They're a lot smaller, because it actually has a lot less features, but that also means it has a lot less overhead. It's better. Yeah, I do like the house versus apartment thing. So a virtual machine is more like a full house. It has everything that you need. And if you go into a neighborhood, each house has all the amenities that are necessary to run a house. They all have kitchens. They all have the living room, dining rooms. They all have individual bedrooms. They all have different bathrooms, etc. It's kind of like an apartment, but it's a little different than an apartment. So it's one big building. Instead of having multiple complete buildings, instead you have one big building, which is the server itself. You have a bunch of different little running things inside of it, self-contained things inside of it. Each apartment in an apartment building is its own self-contained house. It really is. It has the same amenities, although it's a lot smaller, but it still has the things that you need to live. Um, if we go deeper down the rabbit hole, it would be more like if each apartment didn't have its own running water, but there was one individual line for them all to gather from, and it kind of is like that. But it really is more like a house versus an apartment building. Um, but it is, yeah, it's. I think it is. I think it's only okay to think about it as a virtual environment once you understand what it really is. And so it's, I usually don't talk about it in term. I try to avoid talking about it with virtual machines. I call it the differences when we first learned about it, but it's not a VM. It is certainly not a VM, and it's also not it's not a virtualized environment. It is an isolated environment. It is if you're familiar with C groups and things in Linux, it's just a sectioned off way to run to run your application, to run your process. And so I don't even want to say application. It's a sectioned off way to run processes. So it gets pretty interesting. A pod moving box with no bathroom. Yeah. Yep. Yep. And so yeah, workable environment. Yeah, that's fair. That it gets so hairy when you dive deeper into it. But yeah, it's not. I highly encourage you not to think about it like a virtual machine. All right, so I do have Mongo already. I have Node already. So the way that you get this running, I think you just do an npm install, and we can do this. So yeah, so clone the repository, open the command line folder. To install dependencies, run npm install or yarn. I'll do npm install. And to run the application, you can run npm run development. So if I want to do this myself, I'll do an npm install. $8:38. Cool. I think we'll have just enough time to make all this happen. So npm install, if you're unfamiliar with Node.js, all npm install does is install all of the binaries and the dependencies that are needed to make this Node application run. When we downloaded it, there's a file called package.json. This is not something that you need to know for DevOps or anything like that. This is more of a software development paradigm. But just so you know what we're doing is that this is package.json file here, and it allows you to. Oh, yeah, I can share the link. But it allows you to save all of the external libraries and things that are needed to make your application run. And you can save them all here, and they're all breaking down into these dependencies. And when I run npm install, it goes and it grabs all the dependencies that I need. All right, so I just went through and it did that automatically for me. npm stands for Node Package Manager, and it went out and it grabbed all those packages for me. Great. Now it said to make this thing run, you gotta do an npm run development. Now, this seems like a much easier process because I didn't have to do it from scratch. Remember, I already had Node installed. I already had npm installed. I already had MongoDB installed. So I actually had all of the things that I already needed. So this would have taken a lot longer if I didn't already have those installed. But just remember, we got to install those things if we're going to run it in a container. And then to run it, I'm going to run npm run development. And hopefully this works. I actually don't know if this is going to work. Well, let's see. So this should start up a server for us, an express server, and it's going to allow us to be able to take web requests. And so we should be able to access this later. Accessing non-existent property, count module inside, mongoose. Server started on port 3000. I hope those aren't errors. And now it says you can open your browser at localhost 3000. This is at sandbox.mastermind.io, but on port 3000. And look at that. So this is the application up and running. I'm gonna create, my name. You already know my email address, but I'll do academy@mastermind.io just to see see if I can make an account. I actually have no idea how this application works. I only saw the welcome page when I did it before. I'll make a password. I'll see if it creates an account for me. New account successfully created. I'm going to log into it really quick. Mastermind.io. And we get logged in to here. And let's see if it, oh, user not found. Oh, wait, master. Okay, so the reason why it was able to save my information, I'm assuming, is it's pushing everything to MongoDB. And we can actually log in if we want into Mongo and see this stuff, but it looks like I'm in here and I can do my thoughts of the day and post it and have a good time. Okay, so it's got this Mern social app. It's a cool little social application that allows us to see things that are going on. Okay, to see how this Mern stack application works. So it's running. It's good. Okay, it's running. Amazing. But we don't have an easy way to, right now, if you were to take this, you would have to do exactly what I just did. You'd have to get Mongo installed. You'd have to get React installed. You have to get all the things that you need installed, Node.js, get the application in place and run it. We don't want to have to do that. That's not what you want to do. So we can go ahead and we can now Dockerize this thing. And I'm actually very surprised that it's not already Dockerized. Let's go back in here. But it doesn't run on my machine. Exactly. So a lot of you would probably have a lot of trouble running this because Mongo can be a pain to get installed, to be honest. If you're on Ubuntu, Node.js will have some issues when you try to do npm install out of the box because of the way that it installs things is super weird. But let's go ahead and let's Dockerize this. Let's figure out how we want to Dockerize this thing. We can Dockerize this without even having to know much about the application, really just what it needs. So we are going to vim a Docker file right here. Remember, a Docker file, capital D, is going to be the name of the file. And we're going to start out with just one Docker file. Okay. Now, we have lots of options for this. Remember, Docker containers are designed to run a singular process. Although we have a Mern stack that has different technologies, the only process that is a part of this, there are two. There are actually only two processes that we need to containerize. So right now you might be saying, hey, we can build a container that has the entire Mern stack in it. You could do that. But that is not how you want to do it. That is not how it's designed to work. And it actually would cause you some issues and it would actually be difficult for you to run this effectively, but it could be done. It definitely could be done, but we need to break it up. One technology we have is Mongo. Mongo is its own service. We could run that. Okay. Yes, it is okay to Dockerize the data. You are Dockerizing. Yes, Dockerize the database, but you are Dockerizing the database service. I actually generally stay away from doing this. I generally stay away from Dockerizing databases or running. I generally stay away from, in development, I'll do it for sure. But for production purposes, I stay away from this because again, data persistence is super important. It works just fine, but there's some interesting caveats there. We can Dockerize Mongo by itself, but the first thing that you should be doing, something you might want to check out is when you're building something. I don't even want to say the first thing that you should be doing because oftentimes you're not going to do this because of security reasons, but I could go to hub.docker.com and, search for popular applications. So there's already, oh, look at this, MongoDB Express. Very interesting, but there should be some Mongo stuff already here for you to use if you'd like to use it. We can talk about Mongo separately, but that is one of the pieces of the service that we'd have to set up. So right now we got Mongo installed on the machine. Let's start by using the Mongo that's on the machine because the database layer is going to be a little bit different to Dockerize. But we can actually use the MongoDB that's on the machine. But the process that we're going to be doing is Node.js is a JavaScript runtime that runs as a service. And Express is actually just a package inside of that. So it's not two separate processes. It's actually a singular process, which is Node.js, which will run this thing. So we can do this in a couple different ways. I'm going to do this in the most raw way. Couldn't you do data persistence with Docker? Yeah, you could do it. You could absolutely do it. But I don't think that you gain anything from running a database service via a container. And the reason why is because generally you're not going to do a ton of customization to the container. I mean, to the service. You're not going to be modifying the MongoDB service itself. So being able to build new images and stuff isn't generally that important. And I'm not sure there's a lot of value there. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure there's a lot of value there. But you could do it. It's completely fine to do it. I'm just not sure there's a lot of value. How is security on Docker in general? I am currently pen testing on Docker-based tutorials, and I assume Docker security has improved over time. What's your thought on security? Definitely complex. I mean, the security. I think that the security of Docker containers heavily depends on how you have them connected and how you have them set up. There's still a lot of basic systems knowledge that you can follow to make your things more or less secure. Exposing certain ports and things like that, like being careful about what you're exposing, rule of least privilege, only giving your containers access to things that they need access to. But they can be, I think the way that they run inherently makes them a little safer than running the service on the machine by default. You do have to be careful about not running things like running containers as root. Right now on your local machine is generally fine, but depending on what you're doing, you should be careful about running them as root and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it can be, I think that just like anything, I think the people make it unsecure, but I think by default, at least my understanding of how, I'm not huge into security, but by default, just in the inherent nature in which they run, the way that they run, because they're isolated from the host machine, running your process in that manner seems as though it automatically makes it a little bit more secure, but because you need a lot of them to talk to each other, it's probably pretty easy to make it unsecure, to be honest. Yep, in a microservice architecture, deleting services and stuff. Your database, you probably wouldn't do that often, but maybe. I wouldn't, but it's up to you. So let's go ahead and let's start Dockerizing this thing. So we'll build this from something so that you understand what's going on. Let's build it from something you're comfortable with, and so that we don't have to write a ton of code. Again, let's just build it off of Ubuntu just so that we have something that we can follow to get things installed easier. We could do this from Alpine. We could do this from Alpine Linux, but again, someone asked about this before. Alpine Linux comes with only the extreme essentials, and you've got to generally install every single thing. I think right now, for time's sake, that's not super beneficial. We don't necessarily care so much about the size of the system. And so, yes, you could use Node.js. So you could take Node.js, but the reason why I'm not going to do that is because I think that for some people that's going to be a little confusing on how Node and the things that Node has available to it got set up in there. So we're gonna take Ubuntu by default. Yes, you could 100% use Node.js. Node.js is an image that you could take straight from here that already has a Node in here already up and running, and you can just deploy it. Node is an official image that you could take and you can use it. That's great. We're gonna install it from Ubuntu. We're gonna install it kind of from scratch. Normally you would install it from, again, a smaller image, but we're gonna install it from Ubuntu 20.04. And also the reason why we're gonna do this is because then if you need to, you can follow a guide. If you base this off of something like Ubuntu 20.04, if you were unsure how to install Node.js or something like that, you could Google, how do you install this on Ubuntu 20.04, and it could generally get you most of the way there, but it's up to you. But we'll start from there. You feel free to start from wherever you want. But yeah, I'm just gonna start from here for this. And so this is going to be our based image, and you're gonna only have one from line, okay? Only one from line if you are not doing a multi-stage doc, whatever. We're not talking about multi-stage right now, but generally you're gonna have one from right at the top. And so it's gonna be built based on that image. So what do we need? What are the things that we need here? And the things that we need are Node, NPM, and MongoDB. This. Yeah, so we need Node, NPM, and MongoDB. So let's get those installed. The system, when you first start it, for time's sake, I'll just talk you through some of these things. So when you first spin up a system, if I were to try to start up a brand new Ubuntu 20.04 virtual machine, and if I tried to install Node.js via a package manager, it would not install. It generally won't install by default out of the box. Something that needs to happen first. I need to go ahead and update all of my repos first. I need to know where to gather everything from. So I generally need to do an update first. But let's say we Googled install Node.js Ubuntu 20.04. You look it up because you know that you need Ubuntu 20.04. You can essentially take all of the things that are here and stick them into your container. So the first thing that has to happen is an update. All right, and this is generally something you're gonna put into your containers almost always anyway. And we're gonna set up a line here, and one of the instruction sets that we have is run. All right, and so maybe we wanna run an apt update first, okay? So this will actually run a Linux command. Pretty simple, really nice. So we could run that and it'll run a complete update and make sure everything's up to speed. And then it says we're gonna have an apt install Node.js to get Node.js installed. And so while you are learning how to do this, I want you to build often, all right, to see if there are any errors and to see what happens. So maybe to start, you would do something like this. You say, okay, I wanna run one command and now I wanna run another command. And this is generally how you would go about it. You don't need to do sudo because of the way that the container builds internally. You're always gonna be root inside of there unless you create new users and switch to them. But right now we're gonna run an update and we're gonna try to install Node.js here. Okay, so right now it's just Linux commands. We're not doing anything crazy right now. We're just running some Linux commands inside of a container. And so basically these are the instructions that are gonna make it happen. Okay. Ooh, you see some layers. Yeah, exactly. We see some layers here. And again, I'm not really showing you the fancy stuff yet. I'm just having a little fun. Can't you call a local script there? Destro, you could call a local script, but as of right now, there's no, like we would have to get the local script there first. And now if you mean a local script on my machine, could I call one? Why would I guess both yes and no. If you mean, hey, set up a script to install this thing, you could do that. But the problem is if you are calling a local script or if you're using a script period to execute inside of your build, you lose layering, you lose the granularity of the layering functionality. Okay, so you could, but you would lose your layering functionality. That entire script would run as a singular layer, and you'd have to get it into the image first to execute, but it will work. All right, so I'm gonna Docker build this build. Then you do a -t to give it a name. So I'll call this Mern Social. I'll call it Mern App. I'll just call it Mern App. Okay, and then I have to tell it where to build from. All right, exactly. That was the interview point right there. That really was. So, whoops. Docker not found. Well, there we go. That's, maybe the first thing that you got to do is to get Docker. That's very interesting. Okay, let's see this. Install Docker Fedora. I don't usually use Fedora, so I don't know. I'm assuming the package engine on here is easier. Remove Docker. Let's just plugins core config manager. Yeah, let's just do this. Let's go ahead and set this up real fast. I'm really mad y'all made me use Fedora and then I stayed here And you know, it's been okay, but I keep forgetting that I'm on it. And let's do that. Version, install this, and then we should be good to go. Docker compose file is composed of Docker files. When you create a Docker file, you are creating the container while compose is a stack. No, these are phenomenal questions. So no. So a Docker compose file, it can reference multiple Docker files, but it is not, it doesn't have to reference multiple Docker files. It can actually so it references multiple ways to use an image. So it can reference either an image, multiple images, or it can reference multiple Docker files or a combination of them both. But it's not made up of a bunch of Docker files, but it can reference multiple ones. And with the Docker file, you're not creating the container. You are creating an image, which is a blueprint. It's a blueprint for a container to run. And from that blueprint, you can run as many containers as you want to run. But you got to create that blueprint first, and that's the image. So the image is the blueprint, and containers are the thing that is built from the blueprint, and that's the actual service and the process that actually gets run. And so yes, a compose will create a stack of containers. It'll create multiple containers that can, if you set it up right, that can interact with each other. So now that we have Docker here, let's see, Docker PS, service, Docker start. Oh, okay, we got the little whale going over here. Perfect. So now it's running great. So if I run my build command again, and I try to build MERN app, we can watch it build. And this is what we're gonna hear about. We're gonna start to see some layering. This part kind of sucks sometimes. This build context can take a long time. It's basically gathering all the files that are in this current directory. It gets super annoying. It definitely gets super annoying. But yeah, definitely keep asking questions. Docker file just creates a blueprint of a system we want. Yeah, essentially, that's essentially what it does. All right, so notice step 1 of 3. Remember, I have 3 lines. I have 3 commands in there. And so it has 3 steps. So it starts off running the first step, which is the from line. So it pulls Ubuntu 20.04, okay? Because I specified that. So that's the first thing it does. Then it runs step 2, which is the run apt update. And it goes through and it runs the apt update. And then it runs apt install node.js. And you know, this is just Linux output. If you ran this from an Ubuntu machine, this is exactly what you would get. But take a look. We get down to here. It says, do you wish to continue? Then it aborts. The command bin sh-c apt install node.js returned a non-zero code. So a build will fail on non-zero exit codes, okay? And so now I have a failed build. The reason why this is one of the very first things you run into when you're learning how to build things is that when you're trying to use a package manager or you're using something that needs some interaction, when it can't get that interaction, it's going to exit. So, you know, it's not going to, it can't ask us whether or not we want to continue or not. So let's update this thing. And now the way that you do it is to simply add in a -y. If you add a -y, it will insert the command yes. It'll just send in a bunch of yeses. Like if you ever type yes from the command line, it just sends in a bunch of Y's for you to do that. And Control-C, no. All right, that was dumb. Okay, there we go. So yeah, don't do that. It just nonstop infinitely sends in a -y, basically. And so now that we did that, let's go ahead and do the build again. We made a change. Every time you make a change to your Docker file, you must rebuild it. So I'm gonna go ahead and rebuild that now. So it's gonna take a while to build this context. That's trash. I should fix that, but yeah. I'm now understanding what you want to do. So I imagine that since you have node on an Ubuntu image, next point is to add the directory and run a command later. Yeah, yes, that is essentially what we want to do. definitely what we want to do. This is where a little bit of Linux is great, 100%. Like, this is where Linux helps a ton. Takes time. I think if you're trying to get in these industries, Linux is paramount. I agree. It helps a whole lot. The only thing that sucks is that nowadays you touch so many other things, you're not doing quite as much hands-on Linux stuff. So like when I do need to go back and do a bunch of like things that you just don't normally do anymore, it's amazing how much you forget. It's definitely if you don't use it, you lose it type of thing. Okay, so now we have successfully built this image, and it tells us we have. Because we have successfully built it, if we try to build it again, because there were no changes to the actual Docker file, because we didn't change the Docker file at all, it's not actually going to build anything. It only builds when there's a difference. Okay, it only builds when there's a difference. So look at this. It tries to build number one. It says, hey, I already have this thing here. I don't need to pull anything. It tries to run number two. Notice how it says using cache. There were no changes to the app update. So, to the actual command itself. Now, that does not mean that there weren't package updates. So you need to be careful about this for updates, but it uses what already exists. So it didn't do all that building again. Then the app install Node.js, we've already done that. Okay, so it uses the cache. It does not rebuild anything. So that's great. You can already start to see that why caching might help. It didn't have to build all the stuff like it already did. It will only run if things have changed. But because of this, you also can add things together on individual lines. If you don't need to create new layers, I wouldn't create new layers. If you don't have to, if there's no benefit. So some people put their update on a different line. Some people combine all of their package installations into a singular line. It's up to you. It depends on what you're using. But we could combine these into one line if we wanted, by using Linux commands, and we could do an apt install Node.js here. And you can also make it look a little bit better by doing something like this. And we can do an and the backslash just allows me to go to the next line, but for this to still read it as one line. But we also need to install npm. So I'm gonna do apt install npm-y. And let's try that. Let's see if we get all the things that we need here. Okay, I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna build it again. Make a change, build it again. Side question, that shell is dope. Is it ZSH with theming? Yes, this is ZSH. It is using Oh My ZSH, but the theme is called Spaceship. This is it, Spaceship prompt. It gets a lot of cool things out of the box. And it really, makes it super easy. Again, I use it for functionality. It gives me a lot of information back. I will say that Rocket Ship is kind of slow. I've actually had on certain systems, I have a lot of problems with it. It's not as fast as some other prompts. Naughty Body Wash. Yeah, we did find out it is a girl. We are having a little girl. So yeah, everyone who's new, my wife and I did have our baby shower on here yesterday. We wanted to, have a good time with friends and family and everyone. But yep, we did in fact we were having a little baby girl. In the next few weeks, like we're definitely down to the wire right now. So I think the due date is supposed to be the 18th, but so our chiropractor and a few other people have kind of indicated that maybe the baby's positioning and stuff maybe come earlier. But having a little girl hashtag girl dad, I'm super excited about it. It's our first child, super duper excited about it. So yeah, it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be a whole new world, but it is gonna be fun. Yeah, boy definitely won the system. So what we did is we did a Mythbusters episode, basically where we took all of the old wives' tales about how you can guess what gender a baby is going to be, and we went through them and we presented, the shape of the belly and did my wife's feet grow and things like that. We went through and had people guess after each one, and it was pretty fun. But what we did learn is through science that all of those wives' tales are wrong, or they, there's some statistics that say about 5% of all sonogrammed baby gender reveals, like when they tell you what the baby is, about 5% are wrong. So the science isn't complete until the baby actually comes. We believe we're having a girl. We're excited about it. If we should have a boy, excited about it. Whatever. Healthy baby is all we really care about. But we'll see. Maybe they're wrong. I have seen way too many videos where people thought they were having one thing and they have something else. I actually watched a ton of videos also about how that can happen, just to kind of understand. But yeah, we'll see. We'll definitely see. Definitely, I'm gonna enjoy it. Why to use WSL instead of a VM or even dual boot? So, Naughty Body Wash, mostly because it's much less hassle. Yes, there are still a very few amount of outstanding issues with WSL. The reason why is because VMs are heavy, and I like how WSL is built in kind of natively to the system, so it's more of a seamless transition to things. And yeah, and dual booting to me is just a hassle. I did it for years. I also use Linux full time for years as well. This just seems to be the best. And the only reason we're using Windows right now and not Linux purely is because I need some of the other functionalities for business. I need to be able to, unfortunately, utilize Microsoft, the Microsoft Office. I do content creation, so I still need a lot of those apps. I also play games. So yeah. Do you consider grouping this tutorial by topic? Would love to follow up. Yeah, so they are grouped by topic. If you hit exclamation point YouTube, all of these are in a series called Pipelines, which is DevOps and site reliability engineering concepts. So we do group them by that. We also have more individual things. If you go to actually academy.mastermind.io, you can kind of see what the different categories are. It's academy.mastermind.io. There we go. You can kind of see those things as well. Games is all you need to say on that. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. No, it really is gaming. It's games, but also the I use the Creative Cloud pretty often actually, and so really the Adobe Suite is the real killer. To be 100% honest, I could use PowerPoint online, whatever, if I needed it. But and Google Slides works for most things, but people send me stuff. The only reason I need Microsoft Office is because people send me stuff that needs to be in Microsoft Office. Unfortunately, I would love to do a Notion session. I love Notion so much. I like Maharo as well. I really do. I know Adobe. I hear you. Here's the thing. I do not want to have to learn how to become an amazing video editor. I could use DaVinci Resolve. Even I could go full Linux and use DaVinci Resolve, but there's much less material on like, if I want to get something done quickly, I don't want to spend all my time learning how to do that thing, to be honest. So, it is what it is. Of course you do. You have to. You have to. Okay. So now that built, but look, it's successfully built. We are able to get everything that we needed installed right here using this container. So now if we do Docker images, we can see that this thing is here, Mernap. But if we ran this right now, what do you think would happen? Let's actually run this thing. Let's actually run. I'm gonna run Docker run Mernap. I'm just gonna do that, and let's just see what happens. All right. And Docker PS, did anything happen at all? Docker PS-A and Mernap. It started with bin bash and then it exited. We already talked about that. We already talked about that the process, if you want it to run in a persistent way, you have to build it as such, all kinds of other stuff. But one thing that we have not done yet, the biggest thing is how do you get, so we have the tools that we need, but we don't have the application. The application isn't here. All right, the application is not here. What do we need? How do we get the application in here? How do we get the application files in here to be able to run? And the way that we do it is we need to copy them in. We need to copy in all the things that we need, okay? So here's what I'm gonna do. It might be better to put this Docker file outside of here, but it's okay. We'll do it just like this because we probably need all of this. in here. So yeah, so we could get Clonit. That is a very interesting thought. That's a very interesting thought. There's nothing wrong with that. We could get Clonit. The reason why I would stray away from Git cloning, the only reason why I would stray away from Git cloning is not only reason, two reasons. One, the first of which would be if this is a private repository. If it was a private repository, actually that's a good one. We would first need to make sure Git is installed, another package that we probably don't need. We could also delete it at the end, whatever. But we have to worry about credentials if this is a private repository. This would actually work out fine for us because this is a public repository. Utilizing Git would actually work well for us. That is a good idea. But we want to use some of the things that are available to us, which is the copy command. But there's a lot of stuff in here to copy. We'll still do it anyway. Cloning is a good one, but we should copy this. Maybe I'll. So here's the problem with copying. The problem is you're gonna have to copy everything that you need, and normally that's what's gonna happen. We don't need things like the README though. We don't need all this stuff. We also don't need those Git files as well. So that's very true as well. If you're worried about the size, if you're worried about those extra pieces, you don't need all that here. We could move the Docker file out of here and copy the directory. The problem is right now where this Docker file is, I have to specify as much as I have to specify everything, which is fine. And so let's just do that. How do you find the place to add inside of a container? Just like a normal Ubuntu directory structure? Oh yeah, so if you're trying to figure out, that's a good question. Yes, so yes, basing it off of Ubuntu will give you a normal directory structure. You can create your own directories and put it wherever you want to do. Or you can put things wherever you want to put them. You can also take the Ubuntu base image and you can run a container and exec into it and look around and see what the structure looks like. You can absolutely do that. You can copy some files over, then npm install dependencies later. Yeah, you can do all that stuff. So we actually don't need node modules or anything like that. So let's copy what we need. First off, let's do something else. Let's run. Let's make a directory, and we'll call this we'll make a directory called /app. Okay, we're gonna make a /app that this whole thing is gonna run out of, and then we're gonna change our work directory. So work directory says, hey, start to execute the commands, basically change into this directory and make it the current working directory. So I'm gonna make the work directory /app. All right. This song is called Silver Heart by Harris Heller. Again, off of the Stream Beats playlist. Let me get a link to it. I need to set up a command to do that for sure. But yeah, it's Silver Heart. Silver Heart, if you search for Silver Heart, you'll find it. Can't we just copy the build folder after running npm build? Hey, possibly. That's possibly. And the reason I say possibly is because it depends on how your node app is set up. So yeah, so that is a paradigm which you may be able to use, and we can see that. So what are you in now? Like, what program are you using to do those bash lines with the directory? Oh, this is so I'm in Vim. I'm in Vim, which is a text editor, but I'm using a special Vim plugin. Your Vim wouldn't look like this. I'm using a Vim plugin called NerdTree, which kind of turns it into like a text editor more akin to something like VS Code. So like something like Visual Studio Code. But yeah, so actually, so npm build, I think only runs if you have it set up in your package.json. It'll only build to something if you have okay. So there we go. That's actually, hey, that's a great idea. I didn't even look at it, but look at this. We do have a build script in here. So it will build everything to a place that we can probably copy over. So let's see what happens when we run that. Every application won't have an npm build script. Let's see. You're really using Linux if you're writing it out with i3. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I've been there. I've definitely been there. And I've also posted on was it what Linux porn or desktop porn? Can't remember. A long time ago, I definitely posted on there my sweet desktop that I thought was cool. npm build call with no arguments. Did you mean npm run script build? What? Hold on, what did it say? Oh, npm run build, I think is what I gotta do. Oh, that's actually exactly what it said. But I think npm run script is just an alias. Working on a PR to the Terraform provider AWS. Dope. TAT AWS DX connection data source. Interesting. How long? I wonder how long they take to get back on a lot of those. I also wonder how many. We should go look on to see how many. We should also look to see how many issues that they have up, or how many PRs they have up. I have used SaltStack. I didn't love it, to be honest, but I've used it for a little bit, but only messed around with it for like a day and a half. No, another Vim chat song. So, but never mind. I'm not even gonna bring it up. There's a ton of them. There's one guy who, okay, that makes sense. Dope. Okay, so this build, so it built our application. It probably put it into a build folder. I didn't look. What was not here before? I should have looked. This was here before. Any folder is not here. Client is. All these were here before. I actually probably should just look at the command. Let's see. Let me see where I put it at. Production mode, production. Let's see. Usually that's in dist. Yeah, it's usually in dist. But let's see who's really awesome. It's really awesome doing Jenkins pipelines. Docker to build another Docker. Yes. 100%. Okay. I don't think this is what we. I don't think this doesn't seem like the build that I was expecting. I don't think this is gonna work. I don't think this is gonna work in the way that we want to do it. Maybe no. Maybe that's all I needed for the build. But no, we're just gonna copy the things that we need to copy in. As you would normally do it. I really want to move the Docker file outside of here. But because this is its own repo, I don't think we should do that. I think we should just do it. And I wonder if I could have gave it a build command to give it a build folder, but we're just gonna do what we gotta do real quick. So let's go ahead and, whoa, I don't know what I just ran. What was that? Oh, GH, okay. That scared me for a second. Let's go ahead and open up our Docker file and let's get busy. Let's only copy what we need. All right, we don't need everything, but copy. Okay, so we could copy, client, and we want to copy all of it to /app. So we can put inline everything that we want to copy, all in one line if we'd like to copy it to where we want to put it to. But yeah, we can just navigate folders in the Docker file, which is fun. Yeah, you can do that too. So client, let's do everything that we need. Config, and this always messes with me. Sometimes you got to put slashes, sometimes you don't. To do the whole folder, I think I can. I'm gonna do client. I'm gonna do config. I'm gonna do. I'm not sure we need dist. We don't need node modules. I think we need server. We don't need license. I'm gonna put in node. Actually, let me just start with this. Let me just start with this, and I'm gonna copy it all to /app. All right. Let's let me just make sure these are copying the way that I want them to copy real quick. So let's do a build and let's see what happens. Oh no, that's the wrong command. We need a Docker build. Yeah, let's rebuild the same thing. Ugh. I hate this context. You can actually change a few things to get this context thing to go away. It's really annoying. And it really is really, you know what? Hold on. This is what we can do to stop it, to make it smaller. One thing we can do is to remove all these node modules. I don't know how many are here, but we don't need those because we're not going to run this locally. And there we go. You can see how it instantly gets past that. All right, so copy. When using copy more than one source file, the destination must be a directory and end with a slash. So cool. That's one thing I need to do real quick. So all I got to do here is add a slash to the end to that. And let's go ahead and run our build again. So see how fast it is. It's skipping all these things because we already did them. All right, so just to make sure everything is good to go, I'm gonna do a Docker run, was it Mern app? And the command I'm gonna do is just ls-l on /app. All right, so, okay, so it didn't copy the directories in like I thought. So what it did is it actually copied the contents of these directories to here. Okay, it copied the contents. I don't want it to copy the contents of the directories. I want it to copy the directories itself. Directories are there. Are they here? But not the one. These are not the ones that I copied though. These are like, I think these are directories inside of these. Like if I look at client and config and server, it copied them, but it didn't copy these. It copied the contents of each of those things into here. I'm pretty sure. So if I look at something like, if I look at, what are we talking about? What's in here? I don't remember I don't have no idea what I'm copying. If I look in like config, ll config, we got the config.js, so that's there. But if I look at client, all of these things are there too. And so they're actually in there incorrectly. So now we just gotta, make sure that we're building it right. This is why I say build often and make sure you're doing some stuff right. I think that maybe I just gotta remove the slashes. Just create a makefile. It solves every problem. Yeah, I mean, you're not right, but you're also not wrong. You're not right, but you're also not wrong. Makefiles definitely have their place. I like makefiles. Can we do copy brackets? Oh, maybe. I don't know. I didn't, but wow, I don't know how brackets would help us. How would brackets help us? Let's see if this works better. So now if we do the same run command and we look at it, that's also, where did our other build work? I've been using a new thing called task files. I don't know what that is at all. Docker copy, what am I doing wrong here? Directory, do I need to put a / in front? Copy the contents. So I'll just use add instead. Cool, so I'll just do add. There we go. Let's go ahead and vim our Docker file. And instead of copy, we'll just do add. And we'll build again. So Aerial Pig, a couple different reasons why we wouldn't copy the whole directory. One has to do with the, actually there's two reasons. One, the location of the generally the location of the Docker file for being able to build contents. Because of where the Docker file goes, because this is already a repository, if we were to copy it in, we would get a bunch of stuff that we don't need, a ton of stuff, like the Git folder, the Docker file itself, it'd be super weird. So you generally don't want to copy the whole folder in unless you have structured the application in a way to where the folder that is clean. Right now the folder isn't clean. There's a bunch of stuff in here that we don't need. And so we don't want to copy that stuff in. Copy file 1, copy 2 destination path. So me see. Oh, definitely a tad longer. It's definitely gonna be longer. You can also do Docker ignore. Yes, you can do a Docker ignore as well. And then just do like a dot slash. Same kind of thing here. You could absolutely do that as well. See, so it built this time, and let's go ahead and let's run this again, and let's see if it looks a little different. It does not look any different. Add client successfully build, run out list. Nope. I think Docker handles that files and folders. You can possibly use the Docker ignore discard stuff you don't need. Yeah, we can do that. Let's do that because there are no paths listed. What do you mean no paths listed? That files and not folders. So it's pulling everything inside of these instead of these itself. Oh, that's how I had it before. Oh, so that's how I had it before with the copy, but I guess because it's a I guess because we're adding now, that makes a little bit of sense. So let's see. Let's go and build again. Let's see. Oh, you know what? It's also using cache for that. I don't know why it's using cache for that. There's no cache. Whack. You don't think it'll work this way? Let's see if it works this way. It also was running a cache because it was seeing it as the exact same thing. I don't think it'll work this way either. But add any folder. Can you not do multiple folders? But I've done this before with multiple things. If you have copy files, which copy files directory, split this up in the copy command, use add instead of copy. Suppose you want to copy everything. Add source destination. Yeah, we'll do a Docker ignore. We can do a Docker ignore here. Yes, so I generally only use add when I want to do URLs. Yeah, exactly. I generally don't use add very often. A Docker file for one of my work repos copies the whole directory, but also uses Docker ignore. Yeah, we can do that. We can just create a Docker ignore if this doesn't work, which you probably won't because it's going to take a long time. And that makes sense. So you can copy dot into. Makes sense. I think there were some annoyances with that though. So I think one of the oh, that's what it was. So again, a little real-time stuff. If your development team does not know Docker very well, the issue if you use the Docker ignore is that it's a hidden file, and and I remember that's why we did it. We actually had Docker ignores first. And then the reason why we pulled everything out of Docker ignore and explicitly had ads is because it was a greenfield project and the developers could not remember. They would fight the problems for literal days before hey, this thing is not getting in here. You know, I put this new file and then in here, blah blah blah. I put this here and like this is getting here. It's breaking stuff. And we actually had like people were sending things in with like all kinds of stuff with SQL files in it and all kinds of other stuff. And because they didn't know to add it to the Docker ignore, so we had explicit ads instead. But you know, you do whatever you want. Error copy / data in Jenkins. With that, who just did copy.data. Yeah, see? Yeah, I mean, that will also be problematic. I copied the build asset and then arm anything I didn't absolutely want. Yeah, you can do that too. You could copy everything and just RM everything as well. That's a little more gross. Yeah, and so aerial pig, that's completely okay. That is completely okay. 100%. Like, I get it. I definitely get it. It wasn't a big thing. It was just interesting in how it made more sense because our developers knew Docker files. They knew how to go look in a Docker file, but they didn't, not knowing about the Docker ignore, even though you tell somebody about it, if they don't touch it for months, it's something that's easy to forget for sure. All right, so let's do that instead. Let's make a Docker ignore. So a Docker ignore file works like a git ignore file. And not git ignore. We need a Docker ignore. And what it does is it allows you to set up file and file paths of things that you can ignore. And so in here, we're going to put things like, let's get over here. One of the first things is we are going to do node modules. All right, we don't want Docker file. And we'll put star there for no Docker files at all. We need client, we need config. I think we need dist. I don't know if this gets built or not. The way that we can know for sure is to look here. All right, so we don't need dist. Okay, we don't need dist. Let me remove that. Dist, license, we don't need that. We don't need the README. And I think we don't really need the yarn log because we're not using yarn. So these are the files that's going to say, hey, do not copy these things over. So I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to go to my Docker file, and the add, or I guess I can copy now. Can I still copy? Will it do the directories? And if I just do a dot and copy everything into /app. All right. So now instead it should ignore all of the things that we put in that Docker ignore file, which is, this is a better way. I agree. This is a better way. And no cache, no cache. I want to use the cache. I want to cache. Okay, there we go. Cool. And now I did the copy dot into there, and let's go ahead and run our last run command, and let's see what's in the app directory. And there we go. That looks a lot better. This looks like what we want now. All right. Now, if we want to, so we got the files there, but the application is still not going to run. Let's go ahead and let's get it to run. I just realized what time it was. I'm sorry about that. Let me vim the Docker file. Let's get there. So let's, we copied everything in. That's great. These are all new layers. Workdir is in /app. We copied everything into /app. Actually, let's actually swap these, because I actually don't even need /app right here. I think I could do dot because because my Workdir, but I'm going to exit this, and I'm going to paste it below. All right, so my Workdir. Now we can do the things that we need to do. So we need to run some more Linux commands because we need to get everything up and running. We need to do an npm install. That's going to get all of the libraries and binaries and everything that we need set up. That's a part of the README. If you go to the README, it tells you exactly what you need to do there. You do the npm install, and then the command to start this thing up is npm run development. We're going to use that for now. You don't have to, like obviously, if this was not us messing around, we would want to do the production run of this thing, but that starts it up as a daemon. So let's go ahead and let's set up a command for that. The CMD is going to look like this, and we're going to pass it in as npm whoa, why is it doing that? Do we need to start it? How will Mongo be running? So good question. I'm glad you were thinking ahead, Aya. I'm glad you're thinking ahead to Mongo. I already have Mongo running locally. I already have Mongo running locally, so we'll use the local Mongo. That's really good thinking. So let me do, what is happening here? It doesn't like, as soon as I type in an npm there, npm, was it, what in the world? Hold on. Oh, I think it's trying to do some markdown type stuff here. Okay, I see what it's doing. What's up, Pasan? Welcome. Actually, no, I already got you 2 hours ago. Let me scroll up, man. Whiskey Hoss, thank you so much for the Twitch Prime sub. Good to see you. Bedrock, thank you so much for the resub. That's love right there. Star Fox, welcome. Vansha, welcome to the channel. Again, Whiskey Hoss, thank you so much for the follow. Chrono, welcome. VLK Mad, welcome. Dnath, I'll try that. I tried it. Welcome. Ellis Troyes, welcome as well. That was an hour ago. I'm sorry it took me so long to get to you. What's the difference between command and run? Run runs Linux commands. Okay. So I could use an entry point. I could absolutely use an entry point to set this up. Again, the difference between a command and an entry point, command sets the defaults. You can use the command to set up defaults to run the system. You can also override them in the run command. But also, side note, if you see me moving around a lot, I have a fidget spinner and it is helping. But the entry point allows us to, we could use entry point as well. And we can use entry point in a very similar way. In fact, the way that we're doing this now, we could use either one and it would work. It should work just as well. But yeah, we can use entry point. That's fine. Does entry point also need to be put in as a collection of things like this? I can never remember. Comma, what was it? Run, comma, development. So the difference between the CMD and entry point is, all right. So when you see me run a command like this, when I run the command, I ran the MERN app container, but then I put in a Linux command after this. This is the command sets up a default command to be executed. Set up some default options, sets up default commands to execute when the container begins. And so I can override that by doing this. So if you do this, it overrides whatever is set up as the default command. Entry point, on the other hand, is designed to be used when trying to set up the container as a service or as a daemon. Works well. You can also use it in conjunction with the command. You can actually append options with either one, actually. You can append options to the CMD with the entry point, but a lot of times people use entry point as the entryway into the system, and instead you write a script to handle all of the things that you need to use when you are starting a container. So a lot of people will run an entry point. So a lot of people run an entry point to set a bunch of stuff up, run an entry point script, and then execute the container with a command. But yeah, a bunch of different things. Entry point should be defined when using container as an executable. Command should be used as a way of defining default arguments for an entry point command for executing ad hoc commands. Yep, that is how you're supposed to use it. You can, for most people's purposes, you can use them interchangeably. You can use them interchangeably. You shouldn't use them interchangeably, but you can. When you're doing simpler things, you can use them interchangeably. They will execute generally the same way. But yeah, we can use entry point completely fine. Doesn't hurt at all to do. And the problem here is I can't tell what's in quotes now. I think what's in red is in quotes because of the way this thing is like filling in quotes for me. One. What? Okay. All right. I'll go with this. So, the reason why you have to do it this way is because it takes it in as individual arguments. And if you look at this Docker, entry points. Let's see, where's fine. There we go. Yep. And so we need to execute them as the executable and the different parameters that you have. That's what I have right now is I have an executable and some different parameters. They need to go in quotes, but my Vim is doing something weird. I think they are in quotes. I think this is how it does it with Markdown, and it like visually shows it to you rather than actually putting in the quotes for you visually to see. But this will mostly get us there. So this is not going to give us everything, but let's go ahead and let's try to run this build now. Let's see. I don't understand the concept of the doc, why the Docker file is needed. The Docker file is how you build. Yes, it's the blueprint for the image. You cannot run a container without an image. All right, and the way that you build the image is through a Docker file. And it allows for one of the biggest benefits of it is it's basically your application as code. It's your infrastructure kind of as code as well. It's the things that are needed as code, so it's reusable. You can pass it around. You can also now manage this like you would manage code because it is code. You can version control it. You can do all kinds of stuff like that. It makes it super helpful. Lazy, how you doing today? It's good to see you. So Docker file to image, now you can run a container. Yes, you got it. That is exactly how it works. All right, so is it still going? Okay, come on. Give me the end here. Give me the build. Give me the end. I wonder if this doesn't return a. Okay, successfully built. Took a little while, but it now successfully built. Now, watch this. We might have to do something way different, but let's just try to run our app now. So let's see what happens if we just execute our MERN app. All right. We get an npm not found again. See, this has to do with, does anyone know the Vim? Let me nano it. I know this is weird. Let me nano it instead because nano is probably not going to do, there's some extra characters here. Is it quotes around the whole thing or quotes around each individual item? No, so that's check those quotes. That's what I'm saying. I don't know why they're not there. Watch this. So I'm gonna do them here. So I had, oh man, look, watch this. Hold on. Let's save it. Let me see what happens now. Let me see what happens now if I go into Vim. I'm doing them. Look, I just put the quotes there. And that's why they're red. They turned red because I put quotes around them. You know, the game is attacking me. It's attacking me, but I'm gonna do it in nano because I don't know why. I don't know what Vim's doing, to be honest. So I'm just gonna nano it because it's being weird. And now I do think there's like double or triple quotes now, but you know, I think it's weird, but you know, I don't know. Vim, you let me down. Let's do that. I don't need the brackets. I know I need the brackets for command, but I think the exec form, which is the preferred form or the shell form. So it looks like it doesn't matter which one it is. We're gonna do the preferred method. All right, let's see if let's see if that's better. All right, I like that better. So it did like that entry point. And now should I run this container? Will it run? That's the big question. I'm just gonna tell you right now, it will, I actually did not expect it to do this. Oh yeah, I did. So that works. Our application runs. Can we get to it? No, we cannot get to it. Why can we not get to it? And again, you can check it out. If I try to refresh this, it's not gonna work. The reason why it's not gonna work is what? Can someone tell me why this is not gonna work? Yeah, it's not supposed to. Yeah, I mean, yeah, so I have to map the ports, but to map a port, I need to do something else. And so it actually crashes here. There are actually 3 reasons why this didn't work. The 3 reasons why this didn't work is 1, there's no map ports. 2, you can't map a port until you expose a port. So that's number 2. And number 3 is also, it's gonna crash regardless. It's gonna work for a second and it's gonna crash because there's no connection to Mongo. So let's solve all these problems right now, really fast. Also, let's fix that first. So let's vim the Docker file. Let's expose a port. It's running on 3000 by default. So all we gotta do is expose port 3000. Okay, that's great. I'll save that. Whenever we change that, we got to rebuild. Whenever you change the Docker file, you must rebuild. See how fast it builds now? It builds super fast because it ran this. It still ran all of these underneath, but it only ran step 7 and 8. It did not run any of the other ones. So Now, if we do, yeah, those close. I mean, I look, I don't know what Vim's doing. It is setting me up. I really don't know what's happening. So now if we do, yeah, look at that. Look at that. If I, look at that. I Vimmed it. There's no quotes there. I don't understand what's happening. Vim doesn't like me. It's so weird. It's so, it's odd. Okay. It's doing some fancy. It's probably some app I have set up. Who knows what it is. All right. So now that that's set up, if I were to run this again, I'll do the port mapping. So I'll map port 3000 to 3000. Great. I can run this. I'm running it in the foreground. It's going to work. It's going to work it's only going to work for a bit though. And it's going to crash. We are talking about why. We fixed two of the problems. We exposed the port. We connected the ports together. We mapped the ports together. And so now if I refresh, it's going to work for a little bit. All right. It's here. But it's actually not even going to fully load. Again, the reason is it is about to crash because there's no connection to Mongo. And it's here. It kind of lets me in just by default. I can type something in, click post it. It's going. It's about to die on us. We need to do the last thing, which is connect this to an application that's locally to our computer. Also, I also want to show you that, let's get it running first. And then I want to show you one last piece, which I also think is going to be a problem. So it's broken now. Great. Let's fix this real quick. The way that we make this work with the existing Mongo. We have Mongo on the system right now. Because we can expose ports and because ports are communication lanes for applications, we can simply allow this to speak to the MongoDB port. And so right now there's a database URI that's in here. I think it's set up automatically to be locally. And so if we want to make this be able to connect to localhost 27017, I need to connect those two ports here as well. So I'm also going to map these ports. I'm going to map these ports together in the run. Is this going to work actually? Let's see. It's not exposed, but if we do 20, what is it? 27017? What's the Mongo port? Yeah, 27017. And we map that to 27017. It's a communication lane. This should allow them to speak to each other. Response failed to connectivity. Binary in use. Yeah, that's exposed to the containers port. I'll need to, this is gonna be a networking problem. I might have to run this. I might have to change the host ports. I might have to change it to host networking. Okay. Let me see. Yeah, what's the dash network? I created a new Docker network. I could. I'll just put it on host real quick. What is it? Network equals host. Is this the way to do it? It's something like this. I'll look it up really quick. Docker host networking. And now I actually won't even need to publish the ports, but no quotes. But is host the right word? The right keyword for this? Oh yeah, there we go. Or dash network host. Cool. Don't quote you on that. Yeah, you always got to look it up. I actually don't even need to, if it's on host, I don't even need to map it, do I? I don't even think I need to. Yeah, they're discarded. Generally you don't want to do this. We didn't talk about networks. If I was running Mongo out of another container, this wouldn't be a problem. But to get them to be able to speak, to allow this to be able to speak to this port, to access the same port locally, I need to be able to have them on a network where they can connect to each other. Docker has its own networking functionality. So the same way that we did some stuff with volumes, you can set up individual networks inside of Docker as well. We could have done that and customized that. Instead, we just did it via the host. And now the application should work just fine. which is great. But there's another problem here. So now you can actually see the data that we already had in here because we were in here before. And I can, go through and share a new thought, which is a terrible thought. If I want to do that. But right now it's running in the foreground, okay? And we don't really want this to run in the foreground because if we exit out of this screen, the application will break, okay? And that's problematic. You don't really want your application to work like that. I actually think if I run this in the background, it's gonna fail. Or not fail, but I think it's gonna die. So if I run this and I pull off the ports really quick, because we don't need it because I'm networking to the host. But I try to run it as like Docker run dash like ITD. I don't really need all of them, but if I just try to do a dash D here, it's gonna start, and it might keep running, but I don't think it's gonna keep running. And I would be wrong. Well, there we go. We did it. We did it. So there's generally some complications. A lot of times when you're running node applications, because we're doing run development, that's why the run development command starts up a web server and it keeps it open and it does not return an exit code. But if we were doing a production build of this, generally you have to add in something to make it work. Some people use a tool for node called Forever. There's a bunch of different ways to be able to get the application to stay running. The process that starts up to keep running, you got to make sure there's no exit code. But yes, we could ship this application and it would be, it would work as long as you had Mongo set up on your system. The application's here and it's running. So let's take a look back at our Docker file real quick. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to do multi-containers. That'll come. Again, we are going to run contained starting in a week and a half, I think. So we're running, just so y'all know, updates. We're running the Git sessions tracks. We're running that along with tracks and something else is next week. Starting on Monday, we're running tracks and something else. I can't remember what the other thing is. And then after tracks and something else, we're running contained and the Kubernetes one, which is what's the Kubernetes one called? That is called, it's the orchestra one. It is called, oh yeah, we're running Waddle. We're running Waddle and tracks. So Linux and Git. And then we are running Docker, the full contained course, and no, Hoist is Terraform. Man, what is it called? I'm trying to do it without looking it up because I created it. So I feel like I should know what it is. It is, I gotta look it up. I'm sorry. I thought I knew. I gotta look it up right now. Man. Harmony. It's called Harmony. Okay, it's called Harmony. Which makes sense. Orchestration, even though someone pointed out to me that, I shouldn't be talking, orchestration is the word and not orchestra. It's all good. Flask is a framework for Python to be able to make web applications. It makes it super easy for you to be able to develop, have all the tools and stuff available to you to be able to build web applications. So could Docker Compose have helped us? Yeah, Docker Compose absolutely could have helped us. And you know what? We're gonna do? We're gonna take 30 seconds. We're gonna take 30 seconds and I'm gonna introduce you to Docker Compose. 30 seconds. And by 30 seconds, I mean probably more like 3 minutes. It's 9:54. We'll get out of here exactly at 10, no matter where we're at. But in the 6 minutes, here we go. This is how you can run it utilizing Docker Compose instead. So Docker Compose, what is it? It is a framework for allowing you to run multi-container applications. Calendar for the excursions will go on the Google Calendar that we have, that if you go on one of these, actually I need to update the website. There's a global calendar for everything. If you go to like one of the journeys, it will go on there. It'll go on this calendar right here. So if you go there and click on it and follow it, you can get it. But watch this, watch how fast we're gonna do this. Docker Compose, you can install it with one line. Okay, install Docker Compose. Come on, where's it at? Where is it at? Docker Compose. No, that's not it. Prerequisites, Docker Engine, install Compose. I want to install it on Linux. Give me the command. That's all I need right here. Right here. It is not an alternative to Kubernetes. This is not a container orchestration tool. It does not provide all the benefits of container orchestration, but it gives you a few of the benefits, but it allows you to use multiple containers and to define multi-container applications and their relationships. pretty easily, but it is not a replacement for Kubernetes. Let's see. Okay, so we should have it. Docker dash compose. Docker compose uses YAML, so I can make a Vim. I'm gonna do it so fast. Okay, Vim. Docker dash compose. Vim docker compose dot YAML dot YML, and now I can set up Docker compose. I'm gonna grab so YAML is just key value stores. We've done some YAML stuff for this, and so we can define the container for Mongo, and we can define the contain, and we can define both containers in one application because we need it. So let's see, Docker compose MongoDB. I'm just gonna copy and paste because it's probably easier for me to do so. Maybe there's a quick reference here. Here we go. Oh, look at this. All right. I'll take this. Root. Oh, okay. Root password. All right. Let's take this. Let's do, you know what? Let's take all this. So we're gonna take this. Set paste. How much time do we have left? 3 minutes. Here it goes. Okay, so this is gonna set up, this right here is defining Mongo, and it says image here. It's gonna pull down the MongoDB image that we can use to kick stuff off. It's always gonna restart if it dies. And it's gonna set up some stuff here, and then I'm gonna set up another service. The other service is gonna be what we just created. So we're gonna call this our Mern app. And what we're gonna do is, instead of using an image, we're gonna use a build. So we're gonna build it from a Docker file, and we'll build right here. And that's it. That's all we're gonna do. We need to expose some ports here. So port, this is actually gonna be problematic, but let's see. Ports, is that what it is for this? Oh yeah, ports right here. Not 8081. That's Mongo Express. 27071. Hold on, we're gonna do it. It's gonna be, we're gonna get there. We're almost there. Is that what it is? 27071, I believe is what it is. And actually don't even need to expose them like this. I don't need to map them. I think I just need to expose it like that. Let me see. Docker compose expose. This actually is probably not going to work the first try, but we're going to see. Let's do compose format 3 dot whack expose file through reference. Let's see. Expose. I think you just do expose. All right, so expose a set of ports. Expose, and it looked like those were in quotes. It worked with quotes right there. All right, cool. So we'll expose those ports. For this one, we also need to expose some ports. We'll expose port 3000. And we'll actually change that to ports 3000 to 3000. I think that's what we need. All right, ports 3000, 3000. I think is what we're gonna need. Okay. Mongo port error. Let me see. So Mongo port error 27017. It's not 27017. Oh yeah, okay, it is. It's 17, not 71. That makes a little bit more sense. The ports, does that need to be in quotes? That also needs to be in quotes. Now the problem is we're also going to need to change something in the application. Oh no, it's 10 o'clock. Hold on, we got this. We're gonna also set up another environment variable down here, environment, and I'm hoping it's already set up to use it. Environment, and the environment is gonna be, please be set up already. Config, probably in the config JS. This is in the actual application itself. And check this out, Mongo host, I think is what we need. Mongo host, which is going to take environment IP. So I can create an environment variable called IP, and it'll be able to talk to each other. Now, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set up one right now called IP, which is going to be equal to, the IP is going to be equal to Mongo. The reason why it's going to be equal to Mongo is because this will create the containers in their own network that they can talk to each other, and they'll be accessible via this name. The service name will actually be the host name that it should be available at. This might work. This could work. We're about to find out right now if it's going to work. I'm sure I'm missing something, but let's see what happens when we try to run this. We actually might not even need this right here, but let's do this. So orchestration, it gets, I guess it's an orchestrator. It is an orchestrator, but this is generally not what's talked about when you're talking about container orchestration. It doesn't provide a lot of the orchestration features that something else will provide, but I guess it is. It's just a lower level of orchestration. I guess so. So let's see what happens here. The way that we can do this is, first, I need to get, well, basically, the way that we run this very easily, first let me delete the container that's already running. Let me stop 04. All right, and let's do it. All you gotta do, no matter how many services you have in there, is all you gotta do is Docker compose up. Okay, Docker compose up. We'll take that and it'll work. Okay, so it says I have a YAML error actually on line 11. So let's fix that. So right here on the expose line, let's lined up here. New root password. Maybe does environment have to be last? No, I don't think so. And is exposed not supposed to be like that? It doesn't like the new line for some reason. Let's see, what did I do wrong with expose? That looks completely fine to me. It said you gotta, yeah, it said I had a tag. Oh, that's whack. Oh, check this out. Yeah. Look, there we go. That's it right there. There we go. All right. No, now I did it again on line 13. I probably should have looked at the whole file. Yeah. So places that I did not properly. Line 13 should be fine though. Huh. But all of these are probably problematic. There's a better way to fix this, but I'm not gonna do that better way. I'm gonna manually fix all these right now. Yeah, there we go. See, you know, we do what we gotta do around here. Yeah, let's go with that. Even though I didn't like line 13, let's see. So this is not a Docker problem. This is a YAML problem itself. But let's see. Okay, all right, hold on. Parser error, block collection. This one looks different. Expected block in, but found block on line 16. We're so close. We're so close. Ports, 3000, 3000. You know, this is how we do it. This is how we, this is what you gotta do. You gotta fight through these things. Let's see. Yeah, well, port 3000, 3000. Ports, too many double quotes. Ah, good catch. Thank you. Thank you. See, I know things. I know some things. Let's see. Okay, another problem, line 18. Let's move a little bit farther down. Tab on line 18 looks off. No, that looks good to me. All right, let's try that again. Come on, we're at the bottom of the file now. That's got to be it. That's got to be the, here we go. Oh, can't start any token. Found character tab. Is there something at the end? Ah, yeah, okay. What's up, Natiri? How you doing? Welcome. Good to have you. Thank you so much for the sub, the Twitch Prime sub. Thanks for the love. We're out here just fighting. Oh, line 19. Line 19. There's not even. I'm deleting everything. I'm deleting there's nothing there. There's nothing left. All right, nothing left. I hit delete. Come on. Okay, we did it. We did it. So what's happening here is we used a MongoDB image. So right now it's pulling that MongoDB image right now. But the other container, we're building it. So we're using the Docker file that exists to build it. And it should just be fine because we already have the image built. Yeah, Vim is hating. Vim's hating. So it pulled what it needed and now it's building what it needs. So it's got to get the images together to kick off the applications. All right, let's let it do this. Set list. Okay, Whiskey Haas. Thank you so much. I'm just diving back into getting great at Vim again. And not getting great at Vim. I started the process and then I went back so that I could do things in VS Code because it was going to be easier for you all to follow me on VS Code. And now I'm kind of in the halfway point. I don't really know VS Code well. I also don't know Vim well, but I'm getting there. I was learning so fast and I stopped. Set list. I'll have to remember that. Definitely have to remember that. I don't know what's going on, what you got to follow. I appreciate it. I do. Going in reverse, using less and less, but I avoided most plugins. That's fair. That's very fair. Mine is not that lean. Mine is not that lean at all. I don't know why. This is the longest step. I felt this should be cached, but all good. We'll let it finish. It's almost done. We're still good. It's just doing this thing, having a good time. My VimRC is not that long. It's not that long at all. It's got a bunch of plugins that I no longer use, so I need to clean it up. So I'm gonna scroll back up. It says creating these things. So it's actually deploying the images as well. So I tried to start them. But now it's gonna log everything out. These look, Mongo is trying to get all set up. It's giving us some errors. NodeMon is spinning up at the same time. So you can see over here, the log messages for Mongo are here. The log messages for the MERN app are here. It's trying to recover. Let's see if it ever gets up to speed. Still connection accepted. Oh, our application is working, I think. I think it's working. And if that worked first time, that didn't, there's no way that worked first time. Did I expose the ports? There's no way. There's no way. There's no, no. My old container is not running, right? Hold on. I'm gonna control C this. When you control C, it's gonna die. I didn't run it in the background. Hold on, let me refresh. I don't have another container running. I don't have another container that is running. Okay, all right. First try, even though it wasn't first try. It wasn't first try at all. Okay, so I'm gonna run it in the background. So I'm gonna run Docker Compose up-D, and this again will create, because it already did all the builds and stuff, it does this. Now, I can see that there are two containers that are running now. I can also see them in a different light. Docker Compose PS will show them to me in a little bit different of a light to show me that they're up and running. And now these two things are acting together. And, I can sign up again, with a random email, random@example.com. And my password is going to be password 1. Or maybe not. Random. Could not sign in. No. I need to create. Oh, sign out. Sign up. Test. Random@example.com. Password 1. Submit. Something went wrong. Did someone already do this? Someone already stole it from me? This is not allowed for example.com. Or maybe it doesn't like the password. Come on. Okay, well, it's broken. It's fine. It's broken. I can see everything. If I do Docker Compose logs dash I can see the logs, and when I'm trying to push something, I can see if there's a problem. Yeah, I don't know why I did dash T. That was dumb. Let's see, listening. Let's put this over here. Submit. I got nothing. Maybe it doesn't like example.com. Random@mastermind.io is not a website. I mean, it's not an email address, but we'll try it again. It doesn't like any of this. Oh well, doesn't matter. Our app it's running, even though it's not working, it is running. And we were able to use multiple containers using Docker Compose. So check out Docker Compose if you want. You can build some pretty cool applications using it. And again, it's a one click up and down. So if I want to stop the app, I can do Docker Compose down, and it will tear down the networks. It'll tear down everything. So look at what it removes. It stops the containers and it removes the containers. It needs to do both because it provides the same name over and over again. Remember, we learned that you cannot start a container with the same name. The name has to be unique, and removing that image and getting everything gone is helpful. It also creates a network, and it also removes that network. Yes, I can push this to GitHub. I can push both of these to GitHub. I'm actually just going to push this whole thing to GitHub. I'm just going to armrf.git and .github. Yeah, let's do both of those. And what I'll do now is I will get in it. Great. And let's go ahead and make a new repo for this. And then we'll get out of here. I'm sorry this took so long, but I had a good time. Hopefully y'all had a good time as well. We'll call this Mern Docker. And I'll add a description later so we can get out of here. I'll create this repo. All right, git status. Git add everything that's not in there. Commit-m, Dockerized app, and added, what do we add? Docker Compose file. Come on, let's get up there. Why don't I have my keys set up? This is very frustrating. What's my password? All right, that'll do it. I'll give you the link to this repo. Oh, I copied HTTPS. That makes, going fast makes sense. I appreciate the YouTube sub. Definitely thank you for that. There goes the link for that. Let me also, let me modify the README real quick for if anyone wants to know how to run the thing with Docker. Let's do it right at the top here. Academy to build Docker file, build a Docker image, just so you have it here. What is it? It's backtick. No. Whoops. How do I do a backtick? How do I do? I can't remember on my keyboard how to do a backtick. I have a special keyboard. So wait. This is a tilde. This is a tilde. Okay, but how do I do a backtick? There we go. Okay. Backtick. 3 backticks. There we go. And then inside of here, I can do Docker build -t Mern app. Okay. To build and run via Compose. And we can do Docker Compose up. All right, these aren't great directions, but I think it's good enough to kind of get people started if they need to, because you need to install Docker Compose, all this other stuff. But let's push that. Read me for Docker commands, I guess. All right, let's get those up there. Let's see what it looks like. Good enough for now. If you were unsure on how to run it, and I didn't want you to have to go back to the video to see, cool. You can kind of get it up and running. Just know this means you need Docker Compose. This one will just kind of work. I missed something there. Hold on. I missed one character. I feel like I gotta update it because people are going to try to run it and it's gonna break. There we go. That's all you need. Add. Same commit message. All right, now we're done. Okay, so tangible takeaways for everything Docker related. Since we spent so much time doing this, so much time in between sessions. One, Docker is simply a container, a runtime engine. There are multiple ones. We talked about some of the other ones, but what it allows you to do is to be able to isolate the running of a process and to package up an application and all the things that it needs, all the libraries and binaries and executables and files and things that it needs to run. You can package them all up into one consistent format and run it wherever you have the same version of Docker or newer without any issues. Makes it super helpful, makes it super portable. Makes it super scalable because they're tiny. Why are they so tiny? Because they all share, as opposed to a virtual machine, all the containers can share through the Docker image. They can share the same kernel, okay? So everything's accessing the same engine. And so you don't need all of the things that a virtual machine would need. You don't need to replicate kernels everywhere. They all can use the same system kernel. They're small, they're lightweight. It makes them great for scaling. It makes them great for portability to get them to move around as well. We learned that the way that you run a Docker container is it must be deployed from an image. Think about an image like a DVD, and from one DVD, you can watch the movie as many times as you like. But from one image, you can run as many containers as you would like. We also learned that to create that image, you can use a Docker file. You can also run a container and build one off of it, but using a Docker file is how you want to do that. We've learned a little bit about how to write Docker files. We learned about some of those different commands that you could use. We also learned that containers are designed to run a single process. You can do more, but they're designed around running a singular process. We also learned that containers are ephemeral. They're not designed to be around for long. They're not designed to persist any data. So if you want to persist data, if you want to save data long term, you must be explicit about it, and you must use something that's built in. You can either attach a container. You can mount a container to a directory on your host machine, or you can use the paradigm of Docker volumes. We dove into that just a little bit. We didn't dive into networking at all. You'll learn about that in Contained. If you want to learn about networking, we also learned a little bit about image management and container management. So containers, they can be either started or stopped. For you to delete an image, all reference containers must be deleted as well. So you can't remove an image until every container using that image is destroyed. And we learned, a couple different commands around that as well. So that is a little rundown of what we learned over these two sessions. Hopefully you learned a little bit about containers. If you want to dive deeper into containers, we will be doing both Docker and Kubernetes later in the month. I'm actually trying to get somebody who's been on a stream before. He was on one of the panels, but he is a Kubernetes boss. He knows a ton about Kubernetes. I actually really want him to come help run that one with me, because he'll be able to answer a lot of the he's experienced Kubernetes much more in production than I have. I've seen it a fair amount, but not in the same way that he has. And time pending, he'll be able to give you guys a lot of extra insight as well. I want to be able to provide as much insight as possible around it. So that'll come later in the month. But next week we'll be running both. I've been forgetting the names, man. I forget all the names. Tracks. We'll be running Tracks, which is a 4-part Git series. So if you're interested in that, come on through. We'll also be running Waddle, which is a 6-part Linux series. Then after that, we'll be running Contained, which is a 6-part Docker series. And then we'll be running Harmony, which is a 6-part Kubernetes series. So all those will be happening this month. So keep an eye out. Keep an eye on the calendar. I'll update it for you. Tomorrow, we're diving into building out our Pokemon app in Decoded. So we built a Python object-oriented programming language project that built a Pokemon game. We'll be going further with that tomorrow and productizing that and turning it into a bigger project. On Wednesday, we'll be diving into Ansible here. So we'll do our Ansible workshop. Nothing on Thursday. And then Friday, we'll be doing a Lambda workshop for Horizon. So a lot of stuff. Come on through. Saturday, y'all will get to meet Genesis. Genesis those are the apprentices that we have. And you'll get to meet them. And we'll do some fun stuff here. Be excited. Are the excursion classes in hours? They're all 2 hours. Those all are a lot easier to keep to 2 hours. So those ones will be 2 hours on the dot. Yep, absolutely. Sorry we've been on so long. I'm gonna go eat dinner. And I have work to do. I actually have to hop off and I actually have to help with I gotta hop on a call, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm glad everyone was able, I'm glad everyone who found me was able to find me. Whiskey Hoss, thanks so much for coming through. Shragul, I appreciate it. PK, Patricia, absolutely. Welcome, Digital Byte, welcome, absolutely. Good to see everybody. Thanks for coming to hang out with me. We are going to raid. Who are we going to raid this evening? Who's online? I will probably be there for a few hours, Alex. I was there today. From like 10 to 3. Tomorrow I'll probably go for about the same amount of time. I'll probably go in earlier tomorrow though. I gotta finish some stuff, but I'll be there. I'll definitely be there. Let's see. Science and Tech. Who we got? Anthony Writes Code. Let's go ahead. Let's go say hello to Anthony Writes Code. We haven't seen him in a while. Looks like he's doing some open source Python programming. So if you want to get ready for tomorrow, you can go watch Anthony Writes Code. Let's set up the raid. Anthony Writes Code. And we're out here in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, everyone, thank you. Everyone who came through again yesterday for the baby shower. I appreciate the love and the support. Everyone today as well. Thank you. Everyone go get some rest. Go relax. Go enjoy yourselves. And I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out, everybody.